Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Is it working? It is! Lovely! Finally, I've waited enough for the windy weather outside to stop so I could actually stream. Ooh, the internet connection was not the greatest, I can tell you as much. That being said, now let me just paste this everywhere it needs to be pasted. Uh, you know, even when it takes less time to link my streams nowadays, it's still a little bit annoying. Still annoying. I'm gonna admit that. You know, it takes 2 minutes, but still, it's very annoying. Uh, just going to send it to people everywhere that I know probably come and watch it. Oh boy, alright. Okay. Alright, let's see. Uh, One last person to send this to. And here it is. Actually, let me send it in my server as well. Yes, it would be lovely. Everyone, people should join my server. Actually, it's a semi-private community that I'd like to keep alive as long as humanly possible. No. That being said, I think we're about ready to start. Alright. Hello everyone, this is Badar Boy and Happy New Year. Well, you know, I've been meaning to do this stream during December, but it really dragged on and on and on. And I know the thumbnail, it leaves much to be desired, but trust me, I had to make this literally last night, and I didn't have too much to work with. I've been meaning to work on this for the last 2 weeks, but you know, family time during the holidays. Can't do much about that, can you now? That being said, I will say that being said a lot of times, so bear with me. I'd like to say again, Happy New Year. May the New Year be a good time for everyone. You know, and with the start of the new year, we start a new series on the channel, the Let's Talk streams. You know, I'm hoping that if this first one is successful, we get to go on and on. At least one stream like this every month going forward. And you know, the timing was rather good. It's good that I did delay the stream. This way, we start the new year and we start with it the series. And just like that, December is over, January rolled in, and January is one of the most terrible months in the year because it comes right after the holidays. You're tired from all the shopping. You don't have much money probably if you do a lot of holiday shopping, you know, for gifts and whatnot, you know. Nowadays, a bag of chips costs a lot. Trust me on that one. Woohoo! Inflation sucks. But think, but January is usually not really seen very highly by people. You know, not very held to high regards because you know there's nothing in January. There's literally no days off, no celebrations, no festivities except for one. And you might have thought that I forgot you guys, but nope. There's one, and it's on the 6th of January, and it's Christmas. Now, most of you are looking like, better boy, Christmas is on the 25th of December, not the 6th of January. And to that I say, well, Christmas for the Eastern Christian denominations and sects. Don't think I forgot about you, people of Serbia. I know you love my videos, and I love you too. So yeah, early Merry Christmas to you guys, and belated Merry Christmas to everyone else, including the Muslims. And yes, might be a little bit controversial, but hear me out. When you look at a place like Lebanon, you start to notice that a lot of Shia Muslims really love celebrating Christmas. And trust me, listen, I have no problem with that. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. It's wonderful seeing yellow clothes Santa Claus walking around the streets. It's fun. It's funny. It's interesting, and especially for a country such as Lebanon, which is it's best described as a country of minorities living together, supposedly peacefully. The Pope one of the popes once said that Lebanon is a message for peaceful coexistence of religions and ethnic groups, and that's what it was supposed to be, despite all that have went on. But I believe in this region, in the Fertile Crescent, in the Levant, there was always this, and it's an old tradition, it's an old idea, it's an old feeling, especially now there's too much sectarianism, unfortunately. However, for a time, nobody knew what's the difference between this sect or this sect, because everyone would celebrate together, Christian and Muslim. So you see, Muslims would be celebrating Christmas, wearing Santa Claus, putting on decorations, and the Christians would be celebrating the month of Ramadan by eating sweets and watching dramas. It's not what the month has to offer, but it just so happened to coincide with it. And let me tell you, Adil Imam dramas, comedy dramas, are always wonderful in Ramadan. I haven't watched them in ages. I haven't watched them in ages, but he's the king of comedy in the Arab world, and I hope he gets to live for many years to come. But if you're from the Arab region, if you're an Arab, you might have also remember one series that went a little bit too long for its own good sometimes. That would air every Ramadan. It's Bab al-Hara. Bab al-Hara. Okay, what does that series talk about? It talks about the old suburbs of Damascus during the French Mandate era. We all remember Abu Isam and his sons and the shenanigans and that one French siege on the region that lasted for like a season or two. I can't remember, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was funny. And hello, SLR44. Yes, sorry about last time. The stream had to be cut short because there was no real internet connection. And it was a little bit windy, but luckily when it strikes midnight, internet connection stabilizes somehow. Cinderella loses her magic heels and dresses and carriages, but for me, it's time for the internet connection to stabilize. So, very long rambles at the start, but we're waiting for more people to join, and I can see, some activity starting up. So let's talk about Let's Talk. What's Let's Talk? Let's Talk is an idea that I've been thinking about for a while. Of course, I have been encouraged by some of my dear friends to have something similar to this. This will work in like a primitive podcast kind of deal, where we discuss things together. You through the live chat and me through my very soothing voice. And this is actually a compliment I got by one of the viewers. You have a very soothing and calming voice. I mean, it was a nice compliment. I was a little bit uncomfortable because it was a guy telling me that, but hey, no problem. A compliment is a compliment, and I adore flattery. So, let's talk. What we're going to talk about? Anything and everything, ranging from politics to socio-economics to everyday slice of life. stories or ideas you guys want to discuss. And usually we'd have a general theme for the stream. For example, the one in February, we'll be talking most likely about relationships, friendships, family, love, affection, uh, you know, the marketing of one of the core emotions of that humans have, which is, love and so on and so forth. And yes, a compliment is a compliment no matter from who it comes. Depending on the tone that the compliment was given in. It can range from sweet to less sweet, more sour. Sometimes a little bit of a hot sauce on it. Eh, Once I tried this chili burger at this one resto cafe, I had to order a fajita after that because that thing was foul. That thing was foul, and it's not because it was hot. The hot sauce just tasted awful. Anyway, we'll be discussing a lot of things, and if you guys don't have any topics you want to talk about, or you know, I'd encourage people to think about topics and prepare them beforehand so we can discuss them more. But if you guys so happen to not, have a topic at hand, I would usually have a set of topics to talk about. And I definitely did not practice this in front of the mirror for like 2 hours straight. Okay, I may or may not have done that, but that's besides the point. Let's talk. Okay. Let's talk about my inspiration for this stream. So, as time will go by, I probably will get more people on Discord, for example, in a voice call by their own volition, if they do ask so, to join in and voice their opinion. I'd love to do that, but that will come later in the future. As of now, though, I want to talk about the inspiration. I like to ramble a lot, and some of the servers I just talk a lot, talk a lot, talk a lot. Some make sense, some is nonsense, and sometimes it's just me up at 4 a.m. just typing away my blues until someone tells me to shut the fuck up and move on to somewhere else. These people are awfully rude, but I understand their anger, I understand their anguish, not everyone can keep up. And so a friend, well, not a friend, multiple friends, told me I should actually do something, video essays or streams or podcasts or something, something. Some even suggested writing a book. Oh, more than just one suggested writing a book, but hey, I'm not yet going to start Bad Our Boy Incorporated for all kinds of media. This is a long-term project that I don't think about right now. Thing is, one of those friends actually helped me even come up with more ideas for such as the Discord call-ins and viewer call-ins and so far and so forth. That viewer, that person, that friend is actually also a regular viewer of the channel that goes by the nickname or the username Makno. You can usually see him on the Ostalgie streams. To that, I want to thank him a lot for so many things, because this man was generous enough to donate to us. Yes, us as a channel. It's not just me, it's me and you, lovely people. Us as a community, to help us further our goals. And when I say donation, I mean he got me two DLCs for $4 for China Mouse Legacy to be able to stream the game, and be up to date with it. But I personally really hate when people spend money on me or on my channel or anyway, because I just feel I'm not in a position I can repay their generosity and their friendliness. However, I do what I can, and if streaming means I am repaying it, then streaming I will do. And Ernest Macno, I think. Yeah, Macno. Thank you. Thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart. And not just only him. I also want to thank someone else who probably isn't watching right now, but who also deserves the thanks that they will get. But let me read. There's two types of heat, as in spicy food. One that has the kick in, but adds tones and flavor to the food. And what I personally call hot garbage. That's one hot take from SLR44. I believe SLR44 is from Mexico. That category is where the one chip challenge or the infamous the bomb hot sauce fit in. It tastes awful, and the whole point is to survive the pain of the sauce. Oh well, I mean, hot flaming garbage, that sounds like a very popular yet terrible album for a very popular yet terrible rapper. So yes, Mexico. No, spicy food is, or spices, they're part of the culture in Central America, especially in Mexico, or so I'm led to believe. So I'm going to trust your opinion on this. Yeah, you do know your spices. Um, by the way, I did mention this before, but I want to mention this again. Yugoslavia had a Mexico, as like a Mexican mariachi or a Mexican drama subculture within it, because at a certain point where both the United States and the USSR were unhappy with Yugoslavia, Yugoslavia sought new trade partners, and Mexico was over there, and a lot of music and the TV shows and movies and food flocked from all the way from Mexico to Yugoslavia. So that was actually very interesting when I learned about it, and it it's wonderful going from all the way from Mexico to Yugoslavia. Mexican dramas for a while were very popular in the Arab world, in Lebanon and Syria, I tend to believe. One of those that are burned into the memory is Maria Mercedes, which I believe is the story of a young lady, a young girl who is trying to provide for her family by um, doing clown tricks at the side of the road. Yeah, the UMax music. It's called the UMax music. But we'll get back to that. I just need to thank that person. I wanted to thank that person is one of the major or one of the main uh, moderators on the Kremlin Games community server. And when I mean Kremlin Games, I'm talking about the company Kremlin Games, the game developing one. I'm not talking about, yeah, I'm not going to say Russia or anything like that. It's more about the Soviet Union, not Russia. I'm not going to be, saying this or that or no. It's actually the name of the company, and the company actually had its headquarters in Ukraine before the terrible things that went down, and they had to relocate, and they are created by a diverse team that comes from various ex-USSR states. So keep that in mind whenever I refer to Kremlin Games, because I do not want any type of misunderstandings. Now, one of the main moderators, Rehab. Rehab is a terrific person. Rehab loves to help everyone around in the server. It's really great to see. It's really great to see. You just love to see it. And he helped me personally in two ways. Number one, he initially got me the Cold War bundle from the Kremlin Games, Steam account. It's a bundle that has China Mao's Legacy, Crisis in the Kremlin, and Nostalgia, the Berlin Wall. As a gift during the holidays. I think it was around that time. It was on sale. The bundle was on sale, and I'm tremendously thankful for Rehab, because without him, I wouldn't have streamed as much as I streamed over the last 2 years. And as well as I want to thank him because he did help me recover my Discord account when it was suspended indefinitely. And that's actually a very interesting story. So hear me out. I'm on the Kremlin Games community server. I'm one of the more active members over there. I tend to be. Usually I'm goofier there than on other community servers. And well, there was this one Islamophobic guy, and he was very unpleasant. Very, very, very unpleasant. Very unpleasant. I did not like this guy. And we'd argue about, Islam and the so-called threat of Muslims and subhuman Muslims. He was pretty much racist. Okay, just kind of he was like that, and I was trying to contradict what he was saying. It was back at the time where I did believe that conversations can actually work, and I did actually used to hate watch things. Nowadays, I don't do that because why raise my blood pressure over idiots online? It's not necessary. Just out of sight, out of mind. The world is fucked up as it is. Why just anger myself over the internet, where it's supposed to be a path to escapism from reality's problems? Well, here's the thing. He said all of these things, and eventually I grew frustrated, and that's where I made my first mistake. I capitulated and said, you know what? If that will get you to shut up, then yes, I'm this and that and that and that. Everything you said, it's true. Can you now shut up? And he did shut up, surprisingly. But that was not the end of it, because later my account got suspended on accounts of what was it again? What was it again? Hate speech against protected communities? I never send hate speech to anyone about anything. I try to be as much respectful as possible in online spaces, and would appreciate that respect to be reciprocated onto me. So that was really weird of an allegation to be thrown around. And I tried to email Discord about it, but it did not work. And the most likely theory of what happened, because of what happened, was that that guy did screenshot what I said, took them out of context, and used it to build a case against me. And I know that because he actually did take screenshots and would throw them into conversation out of context whenever he wanted to belittle me. But doesn't matter, because Rehab did actually help me a lot tremendously by contacting Discord and trying to explain the situation, giving them evidence, and eventually Discord grew tired of my never-ending emails, and my account is back. Yes! Oh, thanks to Yugoslavia, a lot of Mexican culture got into the Eastern Bloc and so many other places which were trading partners, like Egypt and India. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful how globalization works, how cultural exchange works. It's really beautiful, and I really love the idea of globalization along humane patterns, and not neoliberal or neocolonial capitalist rhetoric, which is what globalization actually became: the control of the petrodollar over the world, of the collapse of the social scam, the creation of the new world order. And this is actually not me what I'm talking. This is not from me. This is from my geography book back in high school, in a Catholic school, in a Catholic private school that has a very favorable lean towards France. So the fact it talked about the New World Order and the control of the West neo-colonial powers over the Third World, it was a little bit surprising, come to think of it. It is a little bit surprising. Be that as it may, though, be that as it may, it is true, unfortunately. Unfortunately, just because colonialism and imperialism were, just because colonialism was over, it does not mean imperialism is over. It does not mean that colonial and imperialist relations didn't just disappear. They remain even till this day. Former colonies that gained independence, they were designed in such a way that their economies were still reliant on their old colonial masters, on their old colonial empires, that they remained in their spheres, and every time they tried to break away from them, the leaders and the governments, coup d'etats happened, leaders were assassinated, there was massive political and social repression, and economic and social strife. So these relations remained, and every attempt at changing them was met with an illegal action. Now I can talk about the international law, the international public law, as much as I want. However, what's What's the use of ink on paper when nothing is applied? Ink on paper is nothing. Just because you have a right on a piece of paper does not mean you can uphold that right. It does not mean everyone will respect that. It's meaningless. This is why I truly dislike the rhetoric of, well, this is our right, so, well, you can't trespass on it. Because, the other person who is going to trespass on your right does not care about your right, does not care you have that right, does not care that that right is protected by the law, meaning they were going to trespass upon it. And I also hate the opposing rhetoric, which is might makes right. If you have the power, then you have the right. It does not matter if anything happens, if anything terrible happens, if people get murdered, if countries get leveled to the ground, cultures get eradicated, genocide takes place. As long as you have the power, anything is permissible. And here's what I want to say, what I perceive as the correct way to tackle this. Might does not make right. However, a right that is ink on paper is meaningless. What do? You need to have power and the force to protect your right from transgression. And that's something a lot of socialists talk about, It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You cannot just hold hands and sing kumbaya and the invader will piss off. It doesn't work like that. And history showed us again and again that the only language an aggressor understands is violence. And it's not unprovoked violence. It is just and proportional violence. It is because, and I believe that the UN did see that happening. I don't believe they were stupid, because international law does allow you, in case your government cannot protect your right as an individual in a nation, to protect your right yourself against an invader, against an aggressor. And I do see it a lot in laws. Some of you might know I'm a law student. So let's take, for example, someone broke into your house, kicked you out, took the house, and you pleaded to authorities to help you out. The authorities on technicalities could not help you. Then what? You have the right within the law to come barging in and use any kind of force to retake what is yours, because what was taken by force can only be ever retrieved by force. That was one of the more famous quotes to revolutionary leader Jamal Abdel Nasser, second president of Egypt, leader of the Egyptian Revolution of 1952, and an Arab icon, and an Arab and African icon for liberation throughout the world as well. May he rest in peace. I do believe he was poisoned. I did not know why I added the last part, but yay, more information. I do not see much activity in chat. I really don't hope that this is going to be just me rambling over and over and over again. It will get very monotone very fast. But I do tend to talk a lot about a lot of things by association, just jumping from one thing to the other, one thing to the other, one thing to the other, one thing to the other. Let's check the voice if it's still working. If it's not, then I'll be upset. Oh no, it is actually working. Lucky, lucky me. Lucky you. No, because you're listening to my voice over here, so you're dealing with me right now. Now I could. Oh, let me tell you about the story of how Abdel Nasser was poisoned. So, a quick recap of modern Arab history. A quick recap of modern Arab history. 1948. Well, no, I won't take you back to World War One, because just okay. The Sykes-Picot Agreement dividing the Middle East between France and Britain and Russia, but Russia, turned into the Soviet Union, so it pulled out of the war, of the agreement. Then there was the Balfour Declaration, which promised the lands of Palestine to create a so-called, between quotation, Jewish state. That was what the Declaration said. The Great Arab Revolt was in full swing. Then there were local Arab governments, which were then defeated by the French and the British armies, who came in to enforced the mandate system, which was just a code of civilization mission over colonialism and oppression and murder of people and exploitation of resources. World War II takes place, shenanigans ensue. 1947, 1948. There's the splitting of Palestine, which was very horrendous. There were Zionist militias also backed by the United Kingdom, and then the Zionist militias clashed with the Arabs, with the Arab soldiers. Uh, there's a lot of things to go on, but basically Israel, between quotations, always Israel, because uh, uh, we do not, as countries that still are, as people who recognize Palestine, we do not recognize Israel, so it's always between quotations. We recognize that it's something that exists, but it doesn't have the right to exist in the way it is right now. Let's just put it that way for the sake of not making people upset over any way, in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, we do not recognize that Israel, the Zionist entity, more like, has a right to exist upon Palestine, but we do believe that Christians, Muslims, and Jews can live together peacefully like they always did in the region for centuries. Anyway, we do not favor occupation, we favor brotherhood and unity over apartheid and genocide, which Israel has been actively committing in the Arab world. Anyway, back to the story. Israel is established. The Arab monarchies are understandably a bunch of fucking terrible, terrible, terrible regimes. The first revolution takes shapes up in Egypt, where Abdel Nasser leads the free officers in their coup against King Farouk, ending the Egyptian monarchy, starting the Egyptian Republic, and soon the Egyptian Arab Republic. In a sense, it had this Arab nationalist sentiment. And the revolution in the Arab world began in Egypt. Egypt started its reforms under Abdel Nasser, and in 1956 nationalized the Suez Canal, which brought the ire of the British and French colonial empires, as well as their puppet, their foothold into the Middle East, or the Arab Mashriq as we call it, Israel. They all invaded Egypt, however they all were defeated, one way or the other. The Suez Crisis, as it's called, but in the Arab world it's known as the tripartite aggression against Egypt. Egypt is victorious, Abdel Nasser becomes an icon for liberation and the fight against imperialism and for the unity of the Arab people, and then the United Arab Republic forms. The revolution spreads to Iraq. Iraq topples its monarchy. Yemen topples its monarchy. In Syria, leftist Arab nationalist forces take power, and then Libya have its coup. There's in South Yemen, which was a British protectorate, things shape up. Somalia, communist takes power. Algeria becomes independent after a long fight for freedom that took 1.5 million martyrs on the Algerian side, God bless their souls, to gain their independence from France. The world was shaping, the Arab world was shaping up. And at its center was Abdel Nasser. Abdel Nasser was such a big icon for the Arab people. He was even for the African people, and even a lot of Asian people of living in the continent of in Asia, living in Asia, Southeast Asia, Far East Asia, Middle East, Western Asia, the Arab world, pretty much. So an icon of liberation and against colonialism. He was such a big personality that a lot of people tried to kill him. In 1967, the 6 Days War takes place. It was a preemptive strike by Israel, a quote-unquote preemptive strike, which is actually illegal under international law and consists of, it's basically a war crime. Attacks Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, and take the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. And Egypt, from that point forward, starts what was called the War of Attrition between 1967 and 1970, which would see a lot of skirmishes and special operations takes place. One of them was Israel trying to bring in a drill to extract oil from the Sinai Peninsula, only for the Egyptian commandos to find that drill at sea and blow it up. I shit you not, that was one of the coolest stories I have ever heard. So as you can see, Abdel Nasser is this icon, and he prepares everything for the liberation of the Sinai Peninsula. The 1973 war was, the Yom Kippur War, or the October War as it's known in the Arab world. It's more of an Arab liberation war, and the planning and much of the planning and much of the preparations were done under the regime of Abdel Nasser. Now Abdel Nasser, at around that time, was hated by a lot of regimes and countries, such as the Gulf monarchies, primarily Saudi Arabia, the United States of America, European colonial powers, of course Israel, and for some reason Turkey. And a lot of these governments were already discussing eliminating the Egyptian problem, meaning Abdel Nasser, by 1970. An operation called Operation Osfur, or Bird, done by the Egyptian intelligence at that time, had bugged the home of the, I believe, the home of either the home or the the home of the American consulate, except the kitchen maybe, and they managed to listen to American officials and Israeli officials talk over the phone about eliminating Abdel Nasser. Turkey did present also a project towards NATO, or a subject in one of the NATO meetings about dealing with the Egyptian problem by 1970. American and Saudi officials were also discussing dealing with this Abdel Nasser problem by 1970. All of them point out to 1970, which is very much suspicious because, it's understandable once, it's a coincidence. Twice, it happens. 3 times, more than 3 times, all of these documents, all of these papers, all of these talks over the phones, all of these tapes, all point out to getting rid of Abdel Nasser by 1970. And Abdel Nasser did die from a fatal heart attack, supposedly, in 1970. The coroner's exam of Nasser's body was very interesting and mysterious, because he noticed that a string of hair was cut and the fingernails were cut towards the flesh. There were deep fingernail cuts. And it's most likely believed to be in post-mortem. Some stories say of one of the officials cutting them and then taking them in an envelope, talking about, oh, he loves this police stuff, this noir vibes, and those were never actually recovered. Not the hair, not the fingernails. And why is this interesting? Because commonly, poison does leave trace, most specifically in the hair and fingernails. At least that's what I heard. So having hair, a string of hair cut, and the fingernails cut this deeply towards the flesh, it does point out, with all the other evidence given, that Abdel Nasser did die poisoned, was assassinated. Which would have been unfortunate, because he was so young when he died. He was, I believe, 52 years old. He was young. That's young. 52 is young. It's midlife. Especially when other leaders live for far too long. So that's why I tend to believe Abdel Nasser was actually poisoned. And most of these information were actually taken from a documentary released by Nasser TV, a YouTube channel, which is the official YouTube channel linked to the official website for the president, Jamal Abdel Nasser. God rest his soul in peace. He was such a great man. No, he wasn't all good. He was just a man. He did have his mistakes and miscalculations, but overly the great deeds he had done outshines the miscalculations he might have committed. And that YouTube channel I just mentioned, it has its sister channel called Nasser Radio, which releases its speeches and so on and so forth. It's actually curated by historians, and it has very much interesting videos talking about the October War, talking about the War of Attrition, lots of interesting documentaries. And it's linked to the family of Abdel Nasser to preserve his heritage. Yeah, it's in the fingernail, yes, but according to what they said hair, and I'm willing to go with that explanation. It seems logical and rational to me. That being said, Abdel Nasser was a reactionary. He nationalized my father's banks. Hey Barhoum, my friend, my brother, how are you? It's really beautiful to see you around. It's really beautiful uh, to see you around. I'm really glad to see you. I should have sent you the link. Totally forgot to send you the. You should actually join my Discord server. You should actually join my Discord server, Barhoum. Over there, you'd get all the updates you need. I understand the frustration, but hey. Um, well, now you know. It's actually in the description of my channel, not of the video, of the channel. There's a Telegram page that is linked and a Discord server. The Telegram page, I don't even use Telegram. I have no idea why I even made this. It was to actually to in a moment where I felt like I wanted to branch out a little bit more, maybe have someone create an Instagram um, account. However, I am content with limiting my scope to Discord and YouTube. I am content with that. I do not want to delve a lot into social media. Uh, Everyone is good over here. It's even better that you are here now, Barhum. Barhum, let me tell you about Barhum over here. He's a very intelligent young man, very smart guy, a communist. He supports the people's plight everywhere, everywhere. However, he is also frustrated by some tendencies in the Western left, more so the Western radical liberal politics, and he's one of my dear friends. He loves to send me a lot of articles and books and videos that I have to watch. Like, I have this problem where I don't really like reading. Not because I hate reading, because school, my school days made me feel reading is such a chore. It feels like prison rather than enjoyment, which is really frustrating because there are books that I want to read, there are novels I want to experience, and stories I want to have my mind delve into, and have my fantasy run free with them, imagining the scenes and so on. Like the Loaf, it's a novel, Al-Raghif, which I'm dying to find an English translation to send it to some of my friends who enjoy such stories. Yeah, I wish more people were here, Barhum. No, Barhum really sends me all of those at once, and I'm not don't most of the times I don't feel like watching or reading or whatnot. However, at times I get this itch to read, and I just open our private messages and just roll in, find this link, open them up and read them one after the other, and then tell him about my thoughts. He finds it a little bit frustrating at times because I take I take a long time to actually read those, but it's always a good read. He really knows how to pick stuff. Smart guy. Oh, but I do not forgive you, Barhum, for that one time you associate me with Anwar Sadat because he didn't like to read. Like he literally took He took a certain video from Nasser TV, the channel I just mentioned, gave me a timestamp and told me to check it. And when I go check the video and reach the timestamp, it says that Anwar Sadat didn't like reading, and I went there and told him, "You little piece of shit, why? Why are you torturing me?" He had a good laugh. I wasn't really impressed, and then I thought it was rather funny, you know. The guy, and I actually hate Anwar Sadat. Anwar Sadat is the guy that took power in Egypt after Abdel Nasser died. He dismantled the Nasser system. He normalized relations with Israel, between quotations again. Um, he reverted all of the reforms Nasser did and built capitalism in Egypt. Actual market capitalism in Egypt, and turned it into an American vassal state that did not care much for the plight of the Arab people or the African people. I personally have issues reading because my eyes get too tired and can make me feel like I'm doing a chore instead of exactly SLR 44. That's how I feel at times, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying. Yeah, the Egyptian economy really tanked after Abdel Nasser died. Uh, with the pandemic, I've discovered I'm very good listener, so I've been using that read out loud feature in Windows to read books I got in my disk. Well, you know something, SLR? Audiobooks are really good for that. If you're a good listener, you could go for audiobooks. Now, personally, I don't really like audiobooks because I noticed something is that I cannot focus on two things at once. So I might just be listening to an audiobook but not really listening to any words said, just listening to noise or focusing on something else. I'd like to believe I can multitask. However, I'm more efficient at one thing at a time. I'm way more efficient at that because I either focus on this too much or on that too much, and it's really, 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 really terrible. I need to figure something out when it comes to that. But for now, it's all good. For now, it's all good. So Anwar Sadat eventually he keeps the communists in jail, releases the Muslim Brotherhood, only for the Muslim Brotherhood to assassinate him later on in 1981. And then Hosni Mubarak takes power. 30 years later, the Arab Spring happens, and people do want change. Only for the Muslim Brotherhood to reach power and try to build a fascist state in Egypt. Then the people go out with the army to overthrow them, and then people expect change, but then they have Abdel Fattah Sisi. So hopefully it gets good to Egypt. I really hope that Egypt can overcome its problems and regain its status in the Arab world that it once had as a leading figure and, this point of meeting for all of the Arabs that it was once under Abdel Nasser in the 50s and the 60s. And to an extent during the 70s before Anwar Sadat ruined it all for everyone else. So as you can see, this part of the world it's not barbaric. It's not a place where civilization cannot flourish. We are the cradle of civilization. We are the cradle of civilization. We are the home of democracy. The Greeks borrowed it from us, by the way. We are the home of democracy, and the Greeks borrowed it from us. And this region for a while actually flourished and was a hub of enlightenment during the Islamic Golden Age, with so much science is being developed. Civilization is not lost here. Civilization can flourish. We as a people can flourish, but however, we as a people, we are not at peace. It's not because we hate peace. We love peace. Our religion commands us to be peaceful. The problem is we are in a position where and uh, war and calamities are imposed upon us. Tensions and strife is imposed upon us. We are not at peace. And where there is no peace, there is nothing that can flourish. Oh, hey there, Beyond Trash 2. Lovely to see people from the guys server coming in. Fun fact, Steven Seagal did some operations in Egypt for the CIA and even was bodyguard of Sadat himself. Considering that Sadat threw an entire mag to the face, he did a really shitty job. Alright. Let me tell you about Sadat's assassination. 3 gunmen. It was the victory parade of the October War, 6th of October, 1981. There was a parade being held in Cairo. 3 armed men take over one of the trucks that was supposed to be in the parade. And in that parade, stop the truck, borrowed not steal. Some people like to use steel to stir sectarian hatred. I do not really know, but they took over it. They hijacked it. It's not really borrowing or stealing, it's hijacking. It's armed hijacking. They took over the truck, and at one moment when they reached where the president was sitting, where Sadat was sitting, they stopped the truck, and one of the gunmen jumped out of the back and ran towards Sadat. Sadat thought it was a soldier coming to greet him and salute him, so Sadat stood to salute the soldier. However, the gunman took out a grenade and threw it at Sadat. He missed. It hit the rail and then deflected. So he took another grenade and threw it into the crowd. The grenade did not go off. And then he took a third grenade and threw it, and that also hit the rail and deflected. I believe that's the series of events. I could be wrong about a few details, but anyway, that's 3 grenades did not work. And then another gunman jumps out of the back of the truck and rushes towards the podium, towards the front rows where people were sitting, towards the stadium, takes out an AK-47 and shoots at the crowd, shooting Sadat and killing him. Or shooting Sadat, and later he died from blood loss, or from the injuries he sustained. And just picture this. A truck in a military parade stops, unplanned. A gunman jumps out, dashes towards the president, throws 3 unsuccessful grenades, and then only for another gunman to jump out and also run all the way towards the president to pick up his gun and shoot. It was a fucking military parade. There were soldiers, there were also guards, there were bodyguards. I believe that they were just sitting there looking at the things unfold and betting, which grenade do you think will hit the president? This one or that? Because it makes no sense. All of these people, all of these guards, soldiers, it's a fucking military parade. It's a military parade. Why didn't the military do anything about it? It's as if everyone there collectively hated Sadat and they were in on it and were like, fuck the guy. Funny enough, Mubarak was sitting next to Sadat and, he got off unscathed. So, it makes you wonder, huh? Makes you wonder. So, that is the very comical assassination of Anwar Sadat. Now, as I was saying, our people in this region can flourish. It's not a civilization problem. It's not a religion problem. It's a problem that, unfortunately, we did fall under colonialism, and these colonial structures continue to exist, continue to persist. Imperialism is the thing. Imperialism from both the West and the East, because China and Russia do not care about the plight of the Arab people, about the plight of the people in natural Syria or the Arab Mashriq or the cradle of civilization, whatever you want to call it, whatever current you follow, whatever current you believe in. They do not care. They seek their interests. Sometimes our interests align, sometimes they do not. So we shouldn't pick a side and say, these people will save us, these people, no. We need to save ourselves by ourselves. It is hard right now, but I do have hope for the future.
Nothing is all off. Because we are a living people. You see, we are living people. You cannot kill us. I mean, you can genocide us, massacre us. I know Israel did a lot of that, still does a lot of that. But we are a living people. We are the people that we are the birthplace of the three Abrahamic religions, one of the three main religions that had an impact on the world. We walked with Jesus Christ along his path. We uh, we have the banner of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, said the whole thing just to not, to offend any sect of Islam. We are a living people. And no matter what calamities befall upon us, we will always rise again. We might have problems right now, that is to be expected in any country or any nation or any. Yes, we are a nation. We are not just divided countries and straight lines that colonial overlords drew a century ago. We are a nation of people. We have different ethnicities, different religions, maybe even different languages. But we are a nation. We are the residents of the people who live in this region. And there's only one way for us forward. It's through peace, coexistence, and unity in the face of colonialism, neocolonialism, imperialism, genocide, apartheid, and whatever the fuck Israel is doing, which is all of the above. And لو نستشهد كلنا فيك صخر جبالنا راح يحاربهم. If we are all martyred for your sake, the rocks of our mountains shall fight them. This is a line from one of the greatest Arab patriotic music composed in Egypt during the Nasserist era. Al-Watan al-Akbar, the great homeland. It is a very long piece. It was the orchestra in it really does an incredible job. I really like it. Sometimes I find myself humming it. Sometimes some of my family members do find themselves humming it because of me humming. And it's a good tune. وطني حبيبي الوطن الأكبر يوم ورا يوم أمجاده بتكبر وانتصاراته مليا حياته. Most Westerners like to imagine we are scattered on the land with no identity or sense or self, which is very classic colonial idea. As you said, Barhum, this ignorant attitude that a lot of people might have in the West regarding our region because of, over 2 decades of terrible propaganda by the mainstream media, they have this image of a desert filled with sand people walking with flip-flops and riding camels with AK-47s and RPGs, and if not camels, it's Toyotas. Fuck it. It's the new Toyota Camel. It's a camel, but from Toyota. It's a camel riding the camel is fucking shooting an RPG of a Toyota. That's the mental image they have. And it is saddening. It is saddening that we are all lumped up in this terrible and rather racist image. And to add to that, some people can be outright racist, and those I don't mind a lot. I mean, they are a brain rot. They live in ignorance. It really reflects their own peace of mind, and someone like that can never progress through life and will remain in their position for a long period of time until they learn their ignorant ways will not get them far. However, the other kind of racist people that I despise are the people with a savior complex, most notably the white savior complex. You see them as, oh, poor people, they don't, they're terrible, they don't know our laws, our civilization, they come from the caves, from the middle of the jungle or the desert, Let's help them. We need to go easy on them and help them and show them the way. Back in the day, that was called fucking colonialism and genocide. Okay? Colonialism was seen by many intellectuals as this mission to civilize the uncivilized people of the world. Yeah, no, no. Don't rebrand that as, humanitarianism. A lot of humanitarian missions can be actually problematic because they come in and instead of helping people in towns, giving them the tools necessary to dig their own toilets, build their own infrastructure, have their, grow their own crops, they go in, do everything, make the locals feel like they're good for nothing, and they need the help because they're terrible at everything they do. And it's really problematic because it doesn't help anything. It continues this cycle. It's just basically people trying to feel less guilty about living a privileged life or trying to gain some social media attraction, or try to show off as, look at me, I'm helping a starving African child, ain't I a good person? And no, fuck you, bro. Fuck you, bro. You're an opportunist, piece of shit. You do not care about people's strife. You just are there for the upvotes. And I do hate these kind of people. I despise them because they're hypocrites, two-faced opportunists, and I despise them with every fiber of my being. At least the other races are upfront about hating you. These guys do it from under the table. It's fuck them. Honestly, screw them. And if you're one of them, dear viewer watching this, then I will drop the title dear. You need to be better than that, my friend. May the United Arab States become a reality, brother. Tear down the reactionary monarchies and the borders traced by the colonizer. That's the hope. That is the hope. One way or the other, we as a people need to be united. No joke. Spanish to this very day like to pretend us Mexican are good-for-nothing savages who, if not by the conquistas, we wouldn't have civilization or speaking abilities. See, this is exactly the problem. And people that you might have held in high regards as a kid, icons, intellectuals, can be turned into very problematic individuals when you learn much more about them as an adult. The case in point is Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo is a writer, a poet, a statesman, even a politician back in France during the 1800s, 1700s, late 1700s and 1800s. He is very well known for his book Notre Dame de Paris, which was translated into a lot of media, such as theater plays, that one Disney movie, musicals of all kinds, animated movies in many different languages. A lot of people might know it as the Hunchback of Notre Dame. He also wrote Les Miserables, which is something I've learned a lot about during school, and it's a very popular book which was translated and seen into a lot of media, such as multiple musicals. I'm actually yet to see the new one that came out a few years ago, animated movies, theatrical plays, and even an anime. I watched the anime, the Les Miserables anime as a kid. It's solid. It's good. It's not bad. It can be emotional as well. Victor Hugo was a pioneer in freedom of speech and the individual rights and the right for political prisoners, to not be persecuted, people to not be politically persecuted. He also talked about he had a lot of good ideas about copyright laws, like copyright, fair use and supporting young and upcoming artists. He was ahead of his times when it came to that, and even spoke of a United States of Europe back at the time, which we can see happened as a reality in the European Union. However, the European Union leaves much to be desired because it is, at the end of the day, a neoliberal construct where bigger countries in the Union will control smaller countries in the Union, and notably Germany and France are the two big ones. And it's not built on fraternity of the people of Europe, but rather more of capitalist interest, monetary and business interest. A more socialist pan-European idealism would be better. Not this Nazi bullshit that they want to not the thing that the Catholic Church went to of a unified European identity during the medieval ages, which the Nazis tried to translate back during their conquests and their invasions and genocides. No, 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 none of that stuff. None of that stuff. Something more built on fraternity of people of the oldest continent. That thing I can get behind. Um, that I can get behind. However, Victor Hugo, as much yeah, as much as I talked about him, you might think he's one guy for freedom rights. Freedom of religion, freedom of expression. Although all of this is true, Victor Hugo, regrettably, was also a supporter of colonialism as a mission to civilize people. However, he would later reconsider his position when he talks in Les Miserables, I believe, about he mentions that Algeria was conquered by force, much to India. He always saw French colonialism as civilizationary, if that word even exists. If it doesn't, hell, the dictionary gets updated every year. Add that in next time, Oxford. And Larousse is a very well-known French dictionary. I actually have a very old volume in my house, very big with a crimson cover. However, the cover deteriorated over a while. The binding, that is, it was really good when I needed to find some definitions for words during my middle school days. Those were fun times, mostly minus the bullying. Anyway, um, as I was saying, yeah, Victor Hugo was, as from what I read, supported French colonialism, but was a critic of English and British colonialism because the latter was destructive and genocidal, while the former was civilizing people that needed civilization. However, I think he did came to regret that decision later down in life. Well, uh, guess European intellectuals will go with what European intellectuals went with at the time. I mean, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels did have some very not so nice words to say about some people with certain religious beliefs or skin color. Does not mean they were racist. And saying that everyone at the time was racist is not good. However, things change over time. And the times go on, and we need to go on with the times, and stuff like that. Stuff like progressivism, yay! However, too much progressivism can be bad. We need to have a perfect balance to have a healthy society. Else, progress will become regression in a new, different way. So let's keep that in mind. Um, Maybe next time I will add on some music. I do not really want to add some music right now because it can really disturb my internet connection, and it's not the best at the moment. So we've been talking for over an hour now. Now how the time passes when you're enjoying your time. I said time twice. I should really work on my oratory skills. Put Fairuz without internet. Yeah, of course, I will go find some old ass cassette and put it in the old ass radio and then play Fairuz. Just remembered, I think a lot of Islamophobes like to point out is that the SS had Muslim battalions as to prove just how evil Islam really is. I don't even know if there was such a thing. Not saying there couldn't have been a lot of colonized regions joined the Nazis out of desperation with vague promises of independence if they supported them. But all I do in cases as that is simply go ahem, look up the George Washington SS Legion buddy. I mean, okay, yes, there were some people who did join the SS from colonized regions in order to fight against the European colonialism. Some groups did see that Germany and Italy were not liberators, they were also colonial empires. And it's just an inter-imperialist confrontation. That's what World War II was. So they did not pick sides. And if they were to pick sides, they were playing both sides at best. As you can also see, Japan did play a lot on the idea of Pan-Asianism in the face of European colonialism, except Japan was pretty colonialist in itself and carving itself an empire through genocide. The land of the rising sun, as they say. But Fairuz is one of the biggest icons for Lebanon. God keep Lady Fairuz alive with us for as long as possible. She's an icon everywhere. I remember one time back in school, we had dance classes. Our dance teacher, I think his name was, yes, Mr. George. Mr. George, who traveled around the world from time to time, went to place here, place that. And whenever they asked him, where are you from? And he'd say he was a blonde guy. He was white with colored eyes and blonde hair. They asked him, where are you from? He said, Lebanon. They didn't believe him at first, but eventually when they were convinced he wasn't joking, they would immediately say, oh, Fairuz. That's what he told us. Fairuz is this icon. She has this beautiful, wonderful voice, soothing, relaxing. And the morning is never complete without Fairuz. Our grandparents, parents, and even us listen to Fairuz in the morning, in the car ride. Radio stations play her music. She's an icon to everyone, and everyone loves her. The president of France, Emmanuel Macron, when he actually did visit Lebanon last time, he dropped by the home of Fairuz to, honor her, give her some honorifics. The funny thing is that most Algerians supported Free France because they promised them independence and then never gave it to them. They were Mexican collaborating with the SS. Leon de Grelle, aka shouting Belgian man from Hooifor, was in Mexico and trained many of the Cristero militias. Cristeros were basically Catholic Daesh or Catholic ISIS. That's not good. That is not good. But a lot of people, and you make actually a good point, the both of you, when Islamophobes talk about Muslims or Arabs or whatever joining the SS, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to talk about the story, and very much overlooked story, of the Arab volunteers supporting Republican Spain in the Spanish Civil War in 1936. It's a very interesting story, and it's a very interesting. It was given. I actually read it from an article, a very interesting article, and you guessed it, or okay, you didn't guess it, but you can guess who sent that to me. It was Rehab. Rehab, the same person I had congratulated and thanked earlier. I didn't congratulate, I thanked much earlier in the stream, almost an hour ago. Rehab did send me that article on the Arab leftists Discord server. If any of one of you is interested in Arab leftism or learning about the Arab left and Arab leftist figures or socialist doctrine in general, socialist theory, I'd recommend visiting Arab leftists. We're currently planning on having a revival of the server because it'd be a shame if it died. Anyway. Oh, hello, Mr. Macno. Hello, Nestor Mac. This is the same man. This is the same man I was also thanking at the beginning of the stream. Everybody, allow a round of applause. A round of applause. I would have uploaded even more, but it's 1:39 a.m. and everybody is asleep, including my birds. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, thank you, Macno. Now, the story of the Arab volunteers to Republican Spain. As we all know, Spain had its civil war in 1936, starting in 1936 between the Republican and the monarchist, I believe. It was the Republicans and the right-wing factions. The right-wing were, of course, the Carlist monarchists, the Phalangists, various fascist organizations, and military generals headed by Francisco Franco. Francisco Franco. Let me just, before continuing the story, appreciate it. Thanks. How was your first? My first day of the new year was splendid. It was good. I spent it at home, enjoyed it, relaxing day, not bad. Uh, the new year was lovely. My family did go to sleep a little bit early, but I did get to hang out with some friends over on Discord and listen to some music and welcome the new year with them. It was lovely. I just found out that there's a Mexican Lebanese friendship monument in Beirut. Saw it in a travel video blog about. Oh yeah, I actually once passed through it. It has the Lebanese flag and the Mexican flag. I think it's somewhere not far from the Ministry of Defense, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I did pass by it. No, no, it's in Beirut. It's not near the Ministry of Defense. It's actually in downtown Beirut, I believe. It has a statue over there, and it's very beautiful. It's okay. It's interesting that it exists, and I did pass by it a few times to know that it actually exists. So yeah, it's if I ever go by it one time, or the next time I might pass by it, I might take some pictures and send it over on Discord. So I highly recommend, if you're a fan of the channel SLR44, join the Discord server. If you do use Discord. But anyway, the Arab volunteers. So, you had Francisco Franco and the fascists, phalangists, monarchists on one side, and the Republicans on the other side. The Republicans, not the American Party. We do not talk about the American Republicans. Those aren't even Republicans, pretty much. The Spanish Republicans consisted of liberals, socialists of all stripes, anarchists, Stalinists, Marxists, Trotskyists, even probably. No, the whole nine yards. Everybody who was on the left wing just banded together to fight against the impending civil war. And they opened the road for volunteers to flood in. Some came to the fascist side, some came to the Republican side. There was a lot of volunteers, I believe, that came from Mexico, and actually Mexico was probably the only country, I believe, was the only country in the League of Nations when Germany annexed Austria that protested the annexation. So kudos to Mexico. Right on, brothers. So what happened is the Arab world at that time also wanted to so that if the Republican side win the war, it means the left in Spain will win. It means that colonialism will most likely end on the Spanish, Spain will leave its colonies, and soon will the other European countries one by one relinquish colonialism and give independence to the people they are oppressing. So that was the mentality. There were a lot of socialists all over the Arab world. There was also anarchist organizations in Algeria that did come and send volunteers to Republican Spain. And from Palestine, from Jerusalem, a young man, I forgot the name. I don't have access to the article right now, but that's something you guys can research on your own. Google is a very fascinating place. Just type away Arab volunteers to Republican Spain during the Spanish Civil War, and it should come right up. No problem. But a man from Jerusalem, from Palestine, comes from the Levant, comes to Spain, tries to establish connections with the Spanish left wing, in hopes that this cooperation with the victory of the Republican side in the war would result in the end of colonialism. And he guised himself as a Moroccan, because at the time a lot of Moroccans were used by the fascist side of the war, especially by Francisco Franco, because he was, the general in charge of the colonies in Africa, and he was, I believe, leading the Reef campaign, or the Moroccan-Spanish War at the time, I believe. I could be wrong about the name, but he was there, and he was committing genocide. And they were catering for the Moroccans over there. There were too many of them. They were getting paid. They needed the money to support their families, so they joined in. And what happened is that the Arabs fighting alongside, who were in the hundreds, by the way, that were fighting alongside the Spanish Republican side, faced a lot of racism and discrimination by the Spanish communists, the Spanish Republicans, liberals, communists, socialists, anarchists, the whole nine yard. Which, listen, on one hand, it is to be expected because Moroccans were very well known to be fighting alongside Franco. They were Franco's elite force from Africa, his African army. So it is understandable on some level there was distrust among them. It is to be expected. However, at the same time, the Arabs did come in droves to fight on the Republican side for republicanism, for socialism, for liberty, against fascism, hoping that by supporting socialism, leftism, democracy, liberalism, anarchism, whatever they came to support against fascism, it will mean the end of colonialism everywhere. They believed that, and they went to fight for that. And they went even before World War II. And so to say, the Arabs were joining and the Muslims were joining the Axis powers because they were evil. I just like to point out that we don't need to point out that the Americans were also fighting alongside the Zionists and the Nazis. Oh well, there's not much difference nowadays, is there? It's just a new coat of paint, from red and black to blue and white. Unfortunately, the Nazis, instead of doing the whataboutism and saying, well, look at the Washington SS Brigade, how about we actually do point out that the Arabs did actually fight alongside socialist forces, alongside democratic forces, against fascism. They fought against fascism in many places. And so it's not to say that the Arabs were just aligned or the Muslims were aligned with the Axis powers. No. It just so happened that some believe this is the path to victory against the British and the French, to expel them. Some were naive enough to take the promises of Italy and Germany, who did have designs for the region of their own. Others were skeptical, as they should have. Some believed we needed to support Britain and France, and others tried to support socialism whenever they could. And it's you can see it in a lot of places, because I have a friend. I will not name because I honestly don't remember which friend, but they're from Britain, and their grandfather did fight alongside the British army during World War II. However, they only joined the war when the Soviet Union was attacked by Germany, and here's why. That man was a communist, and he saw that the war between Britain, France, Germany, and Italy was an inter-imperialist war for imperial hegemony. So he didn't see a reason to fight. However, once the Soviet Union was attacked, the headquarters of the revolution at the time, the Soviet Union, he felt that he needed to join the war somehow to defend socialism, and that's what they did. So people will join different sides for different reasons, even though they can be, very complete opposites, because the British were the British monarchists, or the British monarchy was the opposite to the revolutionary system set up in the USSR. Unfortunately, the early 20th century was the high point of racism as a cultural force. So while it's unfortunately many progressives were still racist at the time, albeit less racist than the Nazis. There were three main heads of the Arab National Liberation Movement that supported the Axis, and it was a rocky relationship at best. I can tell you about them later if you want. Yes, Barhum. I'd actually really love to hear about the heads of the Arab Liberation Movement, the three heads of the Arab Liberation Movement at the time. That would be very interesting. I would be very interested in that, and it could serve for a good topic in a later Let's Talk stream. Hey, see, the ideas just keep flowing.
Oof, a little bit hungry. I'm a little bit hungry. Hungry, hungry, hungry. The Golden Square coup and the Grand Mufti. Hmm. Iraq and Palestine. Yeah, well, I haven't really delved much into it. I've been really focusing much more on the Nasserist era than the World War II era, but once I look into it, I'd be more confident to talk about it. How we quickly delved into politics and history. Isn't that interesting? Can't wait for February because I have a lot of things to talk about. Incels and uh, misogyny and misandry, misogyny, relationships, and much more. I have a lot to talk about that in February, but I'm saving that because that will be a very hot topic, especially with the so called Valentine's Day, the highly marketed corporate so called day of love, which is unfortunate. Hmm. It was not straight because the Molotov refused to recognize the government of Rashid al Kilani at first until the situation got more tense. Alright, so, okay. Okay, Ribbentrop, not Molotov. Yeah. They have a pact together called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It's tend to be confusing, and to that I must say, a lot of people really tend to talk a lot of shit about the USSR or socialism or communism or such because of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, equating the Nazis to socialists. And to that I must say, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is nothing compared to the multitude of pacts that were signed between the Western European countries and Nazi Germany at the time. There were a lot of mutual assistance pacts, mutual defense pacts against the Soviet Union. I mean, Poland and Germany even had a pact at some point against the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union did want to support Czechoslovakia when Germany invaded it, but however, it didn't have a direct border and needed to pass troops through Poland, to which Poland refused to allow to go. I'm not saying there weren't any shady dealings, however, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, it pales in comparison to all the other pacts that were signed before it. So people really tend to pick and choose instead of looking at the wider picture. Also, the Nazi plans for alliance for Arab forces was very vague and was for a stage by the war they never got to. That being a colonial war against Britain and France. The Nazis also didn't really understand Arab politics at the time. Yeah, it's when you're a racist that see people as monkeys if they're not of the same skin color or have the same eye color, you tend to be a little bit ignorant about people's politics. However, there's something I actually wanted to talk about that just popped into my mind, and what was it? Oh God, it was at the tip of my tongue. It was something interesting. I guarantee everything I say is interesting, but this was very very interesting. You can look up the Soviet response to this. A pamphlet called "The Falsifiers of History." I have an Arabic copy. مزيفو التاريخ. So that's interesting. That would be a very good read for another time. By the way, I'm not here to just run defense on behalf of the Soviet Union. I also sometimes I dislike some of the policies that the Soviet Union has undertook, which can be regarded as what Hoja said, social imperialism. But I mean, the hot take here for a lot of communists, Hoja was just a triggered atheist, you know, blowing up mosques and building bunkers. I mean, hey, Albania didn't get invaded. That's that tends to happen when half your country is a fucking bunker. But the authoritarianism and the forced atheism was a tad bit too much. A tad bit too much. And Hojaists are insufferable.
no offense to many of them, but the people they tend to run into, oh boy, they're insufferable to be around. Insufferable to be around. They're not willing to negotiate. They're not willing to compromise. They are not willing to fucking discuss. It's just one point of view. They're dogmatic about it, and that's it. I am dogmatic about a lot of core principles in politics and in, when it comes to fucking human rights, for example. I'm not going to just say, oh yeah, genocide is not okay, except in this and this and that. No, genocide is not okay, period. I mean, hey, I'm not a fucking hypocrite over here, even though the word hypocrite has lots of meaning, because everybody nowadays is being a fucking two-faced bastard. But, uh, but yeah, I mean, sometimes pragmatism is needed when dealing with certain situations, because dogmatism can lead to very terrible outcomes. It can be a good position to have. However, dogmatism in practice can, lead to regressionism instead of progressivism, and it can be terrible, being stuck in that certain mentality. I was once called a dogmatist, rather a bigot, back in school. Oh, you're just someone who's really held on to their opinion. I said, well, my fucking opinion is right. My fucking opinion is right. Human rights and not getting invaded by the West. I don't want my country to be a slave to the IMF. That's the correct position. Don't you know that privatizing everything will fucking ruin your economy? That's what economy 101. But no. I feel like Hojoists and Maoists are the best MLs since they aren't revisionists and don't defend the CCP's revisionism. I did have my run-in with Maoists. I was a guest on Maoist YouTube channels, and I have no problem saying that. For example, and one of them is a featured channel. The Lumpen Third Worldist is a Maoist channel, a Marxist-Leninist Maoist Third Worldist channel, run by a pan-Celtic comrade, and it's the only channel I'm featuring right now. And it's a channel that had invited me on streams to have a few discussions, a few chit chats. I'm very grateful for that, for Comrade Michael Stockley on the Lumpen Third Worldist. And they can be wonderful people, and you can have really because the Third Worldists, the Maoist Third Worldists, tend to be heavily empathetic towards the Third World, so they understand empathetic, not sympathetic. Empathy is far greater than sympathy. Sympathy is saying, oh, poor you. It has more of a demeaning tone. Empathy is feeling someone's pain, relating to them, and trying to shoulder them in their darkest moments. They empathize with the Third World. A lot of them come also from either the Fourth World. The Fourth World could be considered as, Third World people or indigenous people that has, lived for generations in the First World. However, they still in a very bad position. Immigrants are still Third World people. And then you have the First World lumpen proletariat. And I think a lot of people really go hard on the lumpen. And, sometimes, it's understandable. However, the lumpen people, the people of the lower classes, they're the most vulnerable in society. And they must be helped and protected and shielded and supported. And Michael Stockley did tell me this. Punch up, don't punch down. While the end result is to have no more lumpen class, because the lower classes there will be no more classes, okay? Because under communism there is no classes, classless, stateless, moneyless society, as you guys all know. But then, the lumpen will become proletariat, because the lumpen proletariat will become proletariat because their living situation will be improved. So do not attack the lumpen. Attack the elite. Attack the petit bourgeoisie. Attack the lumpen aristocracy. These people control the capital, control people's lives, do shady dealings. They're the ones to be, attacked and removed out of the picture, and not the lumpen. Punch up, don't punch down. Let's read what the chat has said. I don't think the third worldist, because how I have interacted with them, because they're very annoying to any first world communist. That being said, their takes on the third world are good. Like, they act like I'm a shitty person because I believe in a revolutionary socialism, but I can't really engage in a lot of actions to advance socialism because I live in a police state and I want to be able to provide for myself in the future and don't want a police record or the inability to pursue a teaching degree. Here's the thing. A lot of people might think that lumpen third worldists are just sitting on armchairs in the first world and expecting that revolution will come from the third world and everything will happen magically. No, and if they do believe that, then that's wrong because the people that I interacted with, the people that I talked with, understood with, discussed with, they had the idea that revolutionary defeatism should be practiced in the first world. You don't have to make an armed uprising in the first world and go all leftist adventurist and blow shit up and so on and so forth. But you need to be a defeatist, as in, you need to not support the endeavors of colonialism or neo-imperialism, neo-colonialism in the first world. You need to protest, march for causes such as, such as the people that went and protested the Iraq War, such as the people and go in and protest the apartheid going on in Palestine, the genocide going on in Palestine, the Zionist occupation of the Holy Lands. This is revolutionary activity. This is revolutionary defeatism. It is attacking first world imperialism. And that is your right. And it's also your right as a person to express your views in a protest. So, the problem I think they have with first world communists is that some of them are smug, some of them are privileged and cannot break through that privileged mindset. Some of them want, their perfect view of socialism is to support socialist groups and have them coup other third world countries, which is, it's imperialism with a pink coat of paint, not red, pink. And I've actually did stumble across some first world communists to that degree. I will not be mentioning names because they have an online presence, they have a YouTube channel, and I do not really want a headache. I'm actually banned from their server because of some shenanigans. Shenanigans. Yeah, lovely shit. Oh boy, shenanigans. But as I was saying, I really appreciate you, Makno, for what you do. You want to become a teacher. As a teacher has a very influential position to teach younger generation that maybe bombing brown people is actually bad. Yeah, do not bomb brown people. I would say there definitely is a liberal mindset to a lot of socialists, between quotations, in the first world. I feel like interacting with people online is just a mixed bag. Yeah, it is a mixed bag in general. But, a lot of people online tend to be iffy at times. I heard that most anarchists are never really found online. The real anarchists are on the streets, doing praxis, practicing theory, reading theory, learning, and so on and so forth. While online anarchists are terrible at best. I was called someone who doesn't care about my people and my nation and the plight and suffering of the Arab world just because I had a neutral position when it comes to the question of the LGBT in Arab society, in the Arab world. And just to be clear, I do believe in respect to everyone and anyone. A basic level of respect, of human respect and dignity. It is a God-given right. It is a right protected by the Charter of the Human Rights at the UN. And nobody should be ever persecuted for anything that they cannot change about themselves. Nobody should be hurt, harmed, killed, persecuted for it. However, on the other hand, this on the other hand part, it does not eliminate what I just said. I'm still of the respect, no persecution. We, as a society, we're not yet at a point where there's ease of mind enough to have this question come to the forefront of our discussions, because we're still, as I said, a people at war. We're still under calamities are still befalling upon us. There's still war, there's still strife, economic turmoils, political and social collapses on every level. Syria is still in civil war. Iraq is still unstable. Yemen is in civil war. Lebanon is in economic collapse. Egypt is not doing that well. Palestine is still under occupation. Libya is still in flame. Is still in flames. Algeria and Morocco have tensions growing. Shit isn't going the way it's supposed to go. That's pretty much the take on this. So we have more pressing issues right now, such as, fucking not dying, finding a way to shooting down Israeli jets once they start, breaking, imposing on our sovereignty and flying through our airspace to go bomb Syrian children. It happens, okay, it happens, and it's fucked up. And I'm not saying that these type of discussions should not be had, because any society, because the LGBT community exists in any society. This is a fact. You cannot deny facts. And such a discussion is eventual to be had. However, it's not yet at the forefront because there are more pressing issues. And there's also the idea of exploiting the image of the LGBT community for the sake of imperialist agendas, such as Israel. Israel likes to paint itself as this LGBT hub of the Middle East. However, there's a lot of reports come of a lot of mistreatment to the community inside of Israel. So as you can see, there's a lot of exploitation when it comes to that, and it's a whole topic that I just went over the surface of it, explaining my positions, and I will not go into details, not yet, not today. I feel like people imagine more of a division between online and AI, but reality is that there's mostly the Partly online and the terminal. Yeah, terminal online people are weird. One time I used to join social servers trying to talk to socialists, see other different point of views. In one server there was this mutualist. I don't know what mutualism is actually to this day, who said that the third world or the East is imperialist because Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and I had to rip him a new one. I really had to explain to him a lot of things. And then he felt that there was this barrier of ice between us. He felt that there's this barrier between us. And he tried to break the ice, and I shit you not, by making 9/11 jokes. That's the voice of me face palming right now, very hardly, which is a habit I need to get rid of because it actually hurts my forehead. I firmly believe in gay rights, but do believe as a Marxist we do not need to recognize that our conception of rights come from time and place we inhabit, as I've grown up in a time and place. There's more to it. I'm going to read it all once all of this message by Makno is written. But as I'm saying, he tried to break the ice with me, and I'm already mad at him. I'm already displeased at him by I was displeased at him, and he tried to break the ice by doing 9/11 jokes, and he did talk a lot of shit about Muslims and Arabs, and ooh boy, I ripped him a new one. He never spoke on that server again. But then I left. I left that server. Because honestly, I left so many servers in a row. So many servers. And so many servers. Political oriented ones, actually. I do not hang around political servers anymore. It's really not my thing. It's really annoying. Just a lot of people, self-righteous people, trying to tell you their ideology is right or their conception of socialism is right, and it's just, unneeded blood pressure. I'm done with arguing with idiots online. I just want to relax. Online it should be this space where I can relax, where I can enjoy my time, talk with friends, listen to music, play games. stream with you lovely folks, and not fucking, I don't know, beat my head against a fucking wall. Especially when the roof over my head is not the most stable. So maybe beating my head against the wall might have the roof crumble and collapse. And it's the winter, so then we have to try and fix it, obviously, because we're exposing ourselves to the elements, and they're probably gonna flood our home. One time there was a leak. We were cleaning the roof, trying to get it fixed before a storm, and because of the water we were throwing, there was a little bit of a leak right above my bird's cage, and it fell onto poor little Happy, and Happy just didn't mind it. Like, we noticed she was wet from head to toe, and she was like, "Yeah, that's all right, that's fine. All right, let's read this." I firmly believe in gay. This is from Nestor Makhno. I firmly believe in gay rights, but I do believe, as a Marxist, we do need to recognize that our conception of rights come from the time and place we inhabit, and I've grown up in a time and place where those rights are valued. But the West does need to recognize Stonewall was less than 50 years ago, and the gay rights movement only recently become something Western societies accepted in the last 20 years, and those ideas haven't spread everywhere to such a degree. Yeah, every society have its own way to tackling issues and tackling their own problems and tackling their own members of society and how they conceptualize their rights and how they can push forward. And while I do believe no form of persecution against people should be held. Unless they fiddle animals and kids, fucking hang those bastards. I'm not even joking. Abuse against minors, abuse against animals, fucking unacceptable. And should not be even brought up to question as a persecuted, fuck off. Fuck off. You're not a minor attracted person, you're a fucking pedophile. Go to hell. Holy shit. Do not believe I need to say that kind of shit in 2022. But here we are, 2023 even. It's 2023 and I still have to say it. But yes, the West till it wasn't until recently that the West really had gay rights and all or LGBT rights, and sometimes the definition is being stretched a lot by some radical liberal groups, which just brain dead. Just okay, I do not like to insult intellect, but they are at best naive, or they do not have a true grasp of what they're talking about. They're terminally online people, and I do not take of what they say, as legit things. Try to look at other sources when it comes to that, not terminally online 16-year-olds. But anyway, that's why I will not mention that, stretching the definition. But it wasn't until recently that it became a thing in Western countries. So trying to act all high and mighty, it brings us back to neocolonialism. It brings us back to the white savior complex, that we need to embrace said result that they reached there in the West. It's organic to the West. They reach it in the West. It's not organic to us. It feels external. And whenever you try to impose ideals from the outside, people will tend to reject them. So you're doing more harm than doing good. That's what I have to say about that. So we might reach our own conclusions in time, okay? But they might be different. They might be, the same idea as the West, but a different result, or a different system in place, or different kinds of laws, as every society tackles its issues and discuss them, okay? However, France was fucking testing nuclear weapons in Algeria, and and they were pillaging and exploiting resources and murdering people all across. And then they come and say, "Well, you have a civilization problem, a democracy problem. Shut the fuck up! You're condescending us, yet you have fucking bombed us to the ground. You have no right to talk." Okay. So let's read what SLR has to say. Absolutely, as a queer person, I do support the LGBTQ right all over the world, but we have to accept that because the material conditions of some places, example Palestine, LGBT rights aren't just in the first place of issues. They'll have to take time. Exactly. You see, as I said before, it's not at the forefront of the discussions right now. It's not at the forefront. We have far more pressing matters to tackle. Far more pressing matters to tackle. So, yeah, that is one way to look at it. And just as a little side note, it's interesting how I cater to a wide range of audience, from conservative right wingers to progressive left wingers, from all stripes. It is very odd. My Discord server is a weird place to be around, from democratic Islamists, you know, like Islamic values and no head cutting or whatever the hell ISIS does, from democratic Islamists to a Georgian nationalist conservative to Serbs who are socialists yet also nationalists at the same time, to a Bahraini guy who hates Shiites even though they kind of make the majority over there. There's also this Iraqi guy who just chillax, never talks. It's really a weird combination. And I also have the Maoist third worldists over there as well. It's really a really weird, odd combination of people. We used to have a guy named Austin who was a liberal there, but he had left a lot of. I think some people can remember him from the server. Oh yeah, my Discord server. My Discord server. It's actually open for everybody, and I really love to interact with more of you folks. It's really nice. Mm, let's check out a bit on Discord. And yeah, welcome Makno to the Discord. Let me give you the role. I should actually revamp my Discord server a little bit, change up the rules, make them more specific regarding a few things. I can see you're playing Collapse, a political simulator. I was actually streaming that earlier. I believe you watched that. Fortunately, the stream was cut short because I kind of sucked at the game and took an event that made my party go broke. So I was booted out of politics. Ooh, you just love to see it happen, don't you? Almost 2 hours of streaming and we're still talking. Yeah, the game isn't really that difficult. It feels more complete now after this update because it feels like a complete game. And I'm really glad that they made it a free update, even though it has so much content. But it was a free update and not a DLC. Kremlin Games, as a indie dev team, they respect their player base. Yeah, it's a little bit hard. Okay, so listen, it's something I will go into tackle in future streams when I stream Collapse. But the general idea is you need to pick laws that increase taxation, but you also need to pick other laws that will cater to other kind of parties to actually get enough deputies in the parliament to vote for the laws that you want, if that makes any sense. And also, the more laws you propose in one package, the less penalties you might have in terms of administrative resources as a party. So your first task is to actually get taxation up. If you also promise to grow the population, if you also promise population growth in your pre-election speech, you could also outlaw abortion or give material support to families, which will also grow your population. over time, by the time of the next elections, you would have fulfilled. This is a very easy thing to fulfill, and you would have grown up your money. Also, you need to get the post of president, I believe, in order to be able to do research. Some research options do help you tremendously, tremendously when it comes to money, to the budget. And of course, joining international organizations definitely helps out a bit. So there's a research branch during election. The research branch is actually in the factions tab. Click on the factions tab, go to the right bottom, it's the research down there. But yeah, you can also promise uh, you can also promise you can also promise I believe, yeah, research growth in the pre-election speech. There's a lot of promises you can now make, a lot of promises you can now break. No, I'm saying you can get a post like Ministry of Interior, but for research. Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't notice that ministry before when I played before the update. I should probably give it another try later. Oh, the times I spent with rehab 2 years ago at 4 a.m. trying to figure out how to get the best first run in the game. And by the way, one of our newest moderators on the server, Sweeping Star, is also watching this and being very funny in DMs. We appreciate your sweep. You're a great addition to the team. Uh, but yeah, Collapse a Political Simulator is probably one of the most complicated games that the Kremlin Games team did develop. The other one being Crisis in the Kremlin. Fuck that game. I hope the sequel that they are working on is far better. Crisis is a decent game, okay, but it gets frustrating. China Mouse Legacy is alright, not much replayability, but Nostalgie? Ooh, I love Nostalgie. Yeah, she is indeed Omega funny, and you're welcome, sweet. Anyway, Nostalgie, the Berlin Wall. How I love that game. And you guys know it because I've been streaming it for the last 2 years. Very lovely game. Always coming up with challenges. On that game, on this community server, as many will know, well, not everyone right in the chat, but as many who will probably watch this later, there are two guys in that server who do nostalgia challenges and actually talk about them. Number one is Rather Than Thou. Rather Than Thou is the masochist of us. He plays it on Gorbico, which is the hardest difficulty. He likes to make his life hard. But yet, he's a beast at the game. He's a beast at the game. He knows what to do. He's a beast at the game. And I respect him for that. Because Gorbico requires a lot of micromanagement and planning and trial and error. Now, me personally, I go for the fun challenges. I go for the wacky scenarios. I go for the YouTube stream worthy material. And a lot of them I get inspired by people in the server. A lot of people in the server help me come up with them, such as Nestor Magno, for example. Galiots even, that many of you have seen in former, I believe some of you have seen in former streams. Yeah, Nestor Magno and Galiots. Good two fellas. A lot of other people there, even from the Russian speaking community, sometimes even Chinese speaking community. Yes, Kremlin Games do have three different conversation languages: Chinese, English, and Russian. Which was actually appreciate. These people know who their fans are to each game, and they cater for them. Wonderful, wonderful folks. Wonderful folks. Shout out to Vasily and Brutal Pin. These are the two people I interact the most with on the server when it comes to developers. Also, that one Serbian guy. Oh, I cannot pronounce his name. He goes by Europa, I think. Yeah, lovely guy. Lovely guy as well. Listen, if you're a fan of the Kremlin games, I highly suggest joining their server. It's really fun. It's really fun. Oh, I wonder where the Vietnamese Hoja that lives in the UK went. He's been radio silent for a while now. Bunker. We called him Bunker. Wonder what he's up to now. Oh well.
So, yeah, perhaps a political simulator.
The collapse of the USSR actually was detrimental to a lot of countries. Mainly the USSR because it faded into history, but I digress. Armenia and Azerbaijan, for example, the border war, Ukraine and Russia, Moldova itself, and Central Asian countries also have their conflicts when it comes to that. So you have a lot of countries that were screwed over by the fall of the USSR. Afghanistan, heavily screwed over by the fall of the USSR. Um, Syria was screwed by the fall of the USSR. They had to play this ping pong diplomacy bullshit. They didn't even play ping pong diplomacy. They were playing volleyball, basketball. They were inventing a new game of diplomacy on a whole new level. Basically, Syria wanted to bide its time until Russia re-emerged after this fall of the USSR as a global power, so they can have their back. So Syria in the 90s was doing this whole reapproachment towards the United States thing, with Hafez al-Assad becoming good friends with Bill Clinton and trying to negotiate a peace settlement with Israel and normalization of relations that almost happened but eventually did not happen, and Israel is to blame. Yeah, a lot of countries in the ex-USSR after the collapse of the USSR really had a hit in standards of living. Many of them did not recover till this day. Yep, autocratic rentier states and poorer, yeah, a lot of countries in Central Asia. It is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate what had happened. It's very unfortunate, really. Um, it's really brings a sense of nostalgia. Nostalgia. Yeah. It's actually a German word that means longing for the East, longing for the times of East Germany. And to an extent, East Germany had a lot of good things that were far superior to West Germany. I mean, hell, fuck, West Berlin was financing the fucking Kantler project. That shit was trauma-inducing. I've read a very long article talking about the project. I think by the New Yorker. The New Yorker published it, and holy shit, man, that thing made my stomach turn. I almost cried. I almost cried. I'm not joking. The Kentler project, fucking disgusting, vile thing that the government in West Germany, in West Berlin, financed and had no problems. Just oh, fucking hell. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Not today. Let's keep it a little bit more lighthearted. Even though we've been talking about war, calamities, imperialism, hunger, starvation, and persecution, let's not go into the Kentler project. That shit was so fucking vile. I don't want to talk about it today. I don't want to talk about it today. But you are free to go Google the Kentler project by the New Yorker and read that very long and yet very insightful article with a bittersweet ending. It really, it really puts into perspective how some things that can happen in the guise of progress can actually be regression. It can actually be very terrible, and how a healthy society needs a healthy dose of rational, normal fucking human progress, and not whatever the fuck Kantler was on about. They tried to prevent another Holocaust by just doing one of the most horrible, disgusting things they can do. Fucking hell. So vile.
He did that during the war, actually. Look up the calls between Reagan and Hafez. Specifically, Syrians helped escort American journalists to safety in Lebanon.
Actually, relations between the United States and Syria go as far as the Nixon administration. The Nixon administration. Nixon promised Hafez al-Assad to return the Golan Heights to Syria without much negotiations. Kissinger was livid at what happened. Henry Kissinger, that fat fuck, the Antichrist as they call him, he's still alive. He's still alive, but his day will come. For all his crimes against humanity, his day will come. But it's, you know, Hafez al-Assad kept the report between his meeting with Nixon that never really materialized because then the Watergate scandal happened. Nixon was impeached. But he kept the record of the meeting on his desk until the day he died. Hafez al-Assad also had good relations with Jimmy Carter, with the administration of Jimmy Carter. And he had good relations with the Bill Clinton administration at some point, even though they were in opposition when it came to the 1996 aggression on Lebanon by Israel. In that time, France, Iran, and Syria formed, an axis together to come with a solution to the problem as opposed to the American solution. And it actually worked. And it was actually, interesting how Hafez al-Assad, it might have not been the best thing to do, pulling back a former colonial overlord and, trying to mess with politics. But I mean, hey, listen, on a diplomatic level, on a political level, you gotta admire his maneuvers, of al-Assad's maneuvers back in the day. So he brought in France because it had connections to Lebanon, so it has like a sweet spot for Lebanon. He brought in Iran because Iran, was supportive of Hezbollah at the time because Hezbollah was fighting Israel in 1996. It's a thing that we'll go into detail one day, but I don't feel like talking about it very much today. But pretty much that was. So yeah, basically Syria wanted a safe Lebanon. France wanted a Lebanon that is, they have interests in Lebanon, and Iran wanted to support Hezbollah, so their interests kind of aligned. And at that time, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in France did come to the side of the first Qana massacre of 1996, condemned the massacre on an international scale. And back then, there was also the General Secretary of the United Nations. I think Boutros Ghali was his name. I think. Yes, Boutros Ghali. And he condemned Israel heavily for its massacre in 1996 in Qana, which I will talk about. This thing I want to talk about right now. And because of his criticism of Israel, he didn't get to serve another term as General Secretary, and instead of him, Kofi Annan came in and served 2 terms. Now, just to talk about terms of the, just in between 2 parentheses, the 2 parentheses about the General Secretary of the United Nations. There is no official, term for the UN for the GenSec of the UN. However, it's I think 2 years, 2 to 4 years. However, it has become custom that each General Secretary serves 2 terms, and then it passes along to another General Secretary on basis of on geographic repartition based on continents. So if 2 terms are for European, then 2 terms for from someone from Asia, 2 terms for someone in Africa, 2 terms for someone in South America, 2 terms for someone from North America, and so it goes. So yeah, actually, let me read this. Sorry, I missed your answer to my question. So is Kanye right or wrong? I don't give a fuck. I seriously don't give a fuck. It feels like Kanye is mentally unstable and does need to seek help because that doesn't make sense. The things that he's saying, it's not a publicity stunt because he's actually losing business. So yeah, I'm not going to be talking about Kanye. I have more important things to talk about, such as my birds. I love my birds. Also, I think Kantler was a face of liberal enlightenment. Their opposition to the Nazism was based on ideas of so-called sexual freedom and not how it emerges as a political movement. So yeah. Kantler was a psychoanalyst in Germany, one of the more renowned one, and and his idea of freedom in society, uh, or sexual freedom in society, was very fucking warped. That he himself in the 90s came to the conclusion that he was wrong. That he was wrong. That there can be never any consensual relationship between an adult and a minor. That it is fucking obsession, it is disgusting, it is abuse. But too little too late, you fucking asshole. I hope you're rotting in hell, you fucking disgusting man. Not much said here about them, other whatever the US media says. The Kana massacre. The Kana massacre. I don't want to talk about Kantler. Fuck Kantler. The Kana massacre. Kana massacre, 1996. Israel, the IDF, at that time was still occupying South Lebanon after its invasion in 1982, even prior invasion of 1978. And the and then the conflict, the skirmishes did, flare up between the IDF and the Lebanese resistance, to the point it became an open conflict once more. It's not just skirmishes here and there, operations here and there. It just became an open fucking conflict, with the IDF bombing the fuck out of Lebanon and the Lebanese resistance firing rockets towards settlements in northern Palestine, in occupied northern Palestine. And Israel targeted civilians, specifically targeted civilians. No one was safe. I mean, hell, they bombed an ambulance on fucking camera. That ambulance had little kids in it, and you just see it in front of your eyes. It's just sad. It's sad. In Qana, there was a UNIFIL military headquarters, a UNIFIL base. UNIFIL is the United Nations International Force in Lebanon. The peacekeepers in South Lebanon that were called upon by the Lebanese government. That base in Qana was operated by the Fiji Brigade, by the Fiji detachment. Actually, by the way, fun fact, I believe it was the Fiji, once they got independence, they just sent their entire army to South Lebanon. Their entire army did actually get experience from Lebanon, and once they went back to the Fiji, their commander launched a coup d'etat and took over. That's a side note, I believe. That's what happened. Anyway, hold on a second. Someone sent me something. Uh, Hold on a second. I'm just. Sorry, I'm not doing. I'm not going to be doing viewer call-ins today to anyone asking. I just not have solution for that. I'll answer all the questions that are going popping up about. Okay. What's up with calling me Better? That's not actually my name. That's not actually that's whole ass ugly ass musty. Okay. You know what? Screw you. I'm not letting you in on the fucking stream.
Fake ass ducks. Anyway, yeah, that's not actually my name. A lot of people confuse it because I use bad R boy, so I try to rationalize it because I'm Arab. But yeah, that's not actually my name. Or it could be very much my name. You'll never know, because I'll never say. Anyway, the Kana massacre. The Kana massacre. First Kana massacre. The Fiji Brigade. They were housing civilians from the town of Kana, mostly women and children and the elderly. On the day of the massacre, they were housing them in a special hangar, specified for them, for the civilians. On the day of the attack, civilians in the hangar reported there were bullet holes in the top of the roof, possibly fired by Israeli helicopters. It was suspicious, but no, nothing to think about, you know. Yes, I do not want you to call me by that name because it may or may not be my name. It's not actually my name. Okay, let's don't call me that. Don't call me that. Don't call me that. Thank you. There's a lot of videos online. Holy shit. And then some random guy will be harassed because you guys mentioned his name. Call me bad Arbo, call me BRB, call me bad, call me whatever. Or bad R on its own. Actually, you know what? Call me whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I don't care. But don't go around saying that's my name when it's most likely not. Anyway, as I said, I will keep you guys guessing. I will never be admitting anything. Anyway, the bullet holes were suspicious, but nothing much to think about. Later that day, the Israeli tanks will fire shells for 8 minutes straight, hitting solely the hangar where the civilians were housed on the base. Not a single Fijian soldier was hurt. And helicopters were heard before the attack and after the attack. Upon further examination, it was revealed that the Israelis were using copperhead shells, laser-guided artillery shells. Laser-guided meaning the helicopters were most likely guiding said shells towards the hangar, and the bullets or the holes that were found at the top of the hangar were actually an Israeli probe by some spy or a helicopter or something to locate where the civilian are. And what was the reason behind the massacre, you might think? It's because the resistance in Lebanon humiliated the IDF to the point, and that's what an Israeli journalist told an Israeli military commander. And to which that guy tried to save face by fucking murdering civilians, women, and children. The pictures from that massacre are haunting, and they're traumatizing. And they just bring tears to my ears every time I remember them. There was this distinct image of an infant girl, a baby, with her brains dangling from the side of her head. And, actually, in the picture, there's a man that lifts up the corpse. He was seeing if this is a human being, if this is a doll, what was that? He lifts it up, and it's on camera. It was filmed on camera, and it was, on TV. His sister back at home saw him lifting the dead infant, and she had a heart attack from how horrific the scene was. One of the cameramen actually caught one of the children winking or moving his eye or just moving something in his body when they were placing him in a body bag. And they knew the kid was alive, so they took him out of the body bag. He was there with his mother and his brother. And if it wasn't for the camera, he would have stayed there. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? A man left the base going to check in on the town, on his house. He was scared that he'd probably die going there. He felt something was bad. His hunch told him something was terrible. Something was terrible about to happen. And he returns to the base to see his entire fucking family massacred.
And why? Because at the time, Prime Minister Shimon Peres, that fucking asshole, wanted to prove himself to be a war hawk among Israeli politicians. Wanted to start a war. Wanted to prove himself successful in eradicating Lebanese resistance. Well, guess what? He fucking failed. It took massacres for him to fucking lose an election and to look like another joke on the Israeli political scene. All of these dead people, and for what? For a fucking election. At the end of the April confrontation, as it's called, or Operation Grapes of Wrath, as the Israelis call it, a written agreement was reached that Israel will not target Lebanese civilians. And Hezbollah will not launch rockets from Lebanese towns, which they already did not do it, but now, it's just, just ink on paper, because they already did not do it. So yeah, Badar boy, do you see yourself as a secularist? That's a very heavy loaded question. I do not want to answer it right now, but I do believe in freedom of religion. Do I support Ukraine? I do support the people, both the west and east of Ukraine, caught in this war, in this terrible war. My heart goes to them, the people of Donbass, or the people of western Ukraine. Not to the Ukrainian government, not to the Russian government or their war machines. The preparation for Grapes of Wrath was just one of the cowardly tactics they used. Also, 2023, I still got jet lag from last year and say 20. Yeah, it happens. They called me baddie. Baddie boy, can we get on the podcast? I'm guessing you're anti-mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots. Recently, right now I'm not going to do viewer call-ins, unfortunately. Sorry about that. That will be in the future, possibly. Especially you two. Because I know you. When you tell me things are going to be lit, I know something will go crazy. I just want this to be family... Okay, it's not family friendly, but I just want this to be calm. A calm, fruitful discussion. And I feel bringing you two guys in will be just jokes about me being a repressed bisexual, which is I am not, by the way. I have no idea why they joke about it, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I'm not doing anything right now. Just randomly lost collapse because the react. Oh yeah, I fucking hate these nuclear events in collapse. You can just lose at a moment's notice. But anyway, the systems put in for voting machines are actually very much complicated, very much detailed. So fucking with them it's very hard. So scams in elections happen all the time in every country. I do believe in the United States it does happen. I mean, the United States is a sham democracy. It's just the same party with two split wings running against each other every time, trying to brainwash people that, oh, this time will be better. No, this time will be better. While everyone is just disintegrating into more despair as time goes by, because the centrists and the right-wingers, they're just both the same shit, and the progressives don't really get much of a voice nowadays, do they? Anyway, voting machines, they're actually really good. I've actually talked to a friend and about how the data is inputted and how the algorithm for voting machine is input in the United States. It was a very much interesting conversation. Interesting examples were given, and voting machines are pretty secure. Like they can be they might be manipulated, but it's not really worth it on such a large scale. And besides, mail-in ballots. I mean, that can be good. It is very much a path for a possible, scam in elections, but unfortunately, not a lot of people can be brought into voting centers, and I do believe you guys are asking me from an American perspective, so I'm going to answer from an American perspective as well. I have heard, what I've heard is that, strategically speaking, some states with certain lean towards this faction or this other faction have here and there and everywhere. Yeah, some counties, some states with different political position. Mostly it's red states that have odd election laws as well as odd placements for voting centers, sometimes having them far away from universities because apparently universities are liberal minded. Shut the fuck up. And they also don't allow apparently people to go on buses together to go to vote because that is influencing people's votes. What the? We do it here all the time. We do it. You don't see anybody complain. I mean, there's a lot of people who complain, but hey, it's not influencing. At least it's just a buzz. It's not people celebrating by giving voters money. It's not fraud. So I call bullshit on that. But mail-in ballots are important in case you cannot reach the voting centers. Hopefully they don't get tampered with. So yeah. Who would you vote for in the previous Lebanese elections? I'd actually vote for progressive parties, progressive leftist. I'd vote probably for the People's Movement, the Popular Nasser's organization. These kind of parties that are rather more independent but are not opposed to the Lebanese resistance. So they're the whole deal for me. Progressive, leftist, not opposed to the resistance, and anti-West and anti-East. So I'd probably vote for that if I could vote. However, I'm not yet of age. The voting age here is 21. Get Dean and I on this stream. We want to hear your side on a few global and local issues. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that time. We've been streaming for 2 hours and a half. I think I can spare 15 minutes. You guys have 15 minutes, and it better be a serious conversation. I'm going to try this viewer call-in thing, and let's see how it works out. Alright? So I'm going to go to the guys chat. Yes, Najah Hakim, based as fuck guy. I love that man. I love that old guy. So yeah. The guy's server. The guy's server is actually a very fun place to shitpost and enjoy time with some lovely folks. Dean is one of them, as much as other friends as well. It's not really linked to the YouTube channel in any way, shape, or form, but just wanted to clarify if I do mention it. So yeah, I'm going to try this the last 15 minutes, and it's connecting. My connection is not the best, so let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
I can't hear us. Sorry, Gutter.
Hey, as I said, it's bad R boy, bad R boy.
Yeah, Batty.
Yeah, call me that.
Boy, how's it? How are you? I've been watching the stream for like the past hour.
Yeah.
Great.
Can the chat hear us?
We need to ask them. Can you guys hear them?
They can. Oh yeah, they can actually. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they can.
All right, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay. All right. So this is the first attempt at
politics, huh?
What?
Let's go.
Let's get political. Let's get
Oh
controversial.
dear me! I have a feeling this is a
This is
trap.
the first question.
Ask away.
Would you rather live in Israel or live in Half-Life?
Oh my god!
Shut up, Ali.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Wait, it depends.
Oh my god.
What? Am I an Israeli or am I Palestinian?
I knew this was a bad idea. I knew I was this
No,
guy.
no, no, no. We'll be serious. We'll be serious. This, we just gotta ask. We gotta ask.
What's the fucking difference? It's both occupation, apartheid, uh, genocide, exploitation of resources. It's the combine, and Israel is the
That's
same.
actually like a legit good point. Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
So it's
we
like,
don't choose that.
what kind of hell do you want to go? Hell or hell? But it's with a different spice flavor.
No, that's valid.
That was the only mean question. We didn't
Yeah.
ask you real
All right.
questions.
I'm trying to let me peek at the news. I'm trying to think about what's happening.
Oh dear me.
Yeah, I've been trying to like not pay attention because the whole world's kind of going to shit right now. You guys know how it is.
Honestly, I haven't been watching the news for a while now. No, I'm only hearing
Yeah.
tidbits here and there because it's really gets the blood pressure high, gets the anxiety going
Yeah.
on. You don't want that in your life.
Well, here, let me start with a bit of a question. What's going on in Lebanon? Because like I'm not sure where the viewers are from, but I know. I mean, I'm from the United States. Ali is from the United States. I don't think that's much of a dox, but like, we don't really, it's not exactly front page news what's going on.
Well, what's going on in
over
Lebanon? We're having a terrible inflation, social,
here?
social tensions
Inflation?
rising, economic problems, political deadlock. We still haven't elected a president, as far as I know.
Better. I told you to describe the problems in Lebanon, not America.
It's not. You're still saying my name wrong, but I'll let it slide.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It's a force of habit. My bad.
Yeah. I know the R in my name is very
Yeah.
confusing, but whatever.
Yeah, because I just read it and I see bad R, so I just say, it's a force of habit. That's my bad.
Yeah, it's
We don't
all
want to call you a boy because I'm sure you're an
Yeah,
adult.
that would be a bit weird.
That's just our.
Yeah, you're.
Oh my god,
older than both of us.
you guys reminded me. You guys reminded me with that time I was streaming, and some, I think, Arab guy came into the stream and asked me, "Are you a boy or girl?" I told him it's inside of the fucking name. It's in the fucking name, and he said you just and he said asking me, you just slide into the stream and ask me what's my name, if I'm a boy or a girl. I'm a guy. It's in the name. It's bad or boy, and when he says, "Well, I waste no time, baby," or something like that, I'm like, holy fucking shit. Is this Riz? This is what this is what the young people call Riz?
Oh shit, that's funny.
Oh my god, I hated that moment.
So when it comes to like Lebanese politics, right?
Yeah.
What are like the top like political opponents right now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's it's usually the main political parties. It's always the Lebanese forces, the right wing. You have the former president's party, the Free Patriotic
Wait, what do they
Movement.
stand for? If you don't mind me asking, do you know?
Yeah. I mean, we know what they all stand for, but like.
The Lebanese forces?
Yeah.
Bending over for the West, and possibly, if given the chance, killing Muslims. Because,
Wait, they're what?
I listen, during the Civil War, they were notorious for
They're
their massacre.
American puppets, basically.
Basically,
They're
they're basically fascists wearing a more moderate coat. But
They're moderate rebels.
they're not. Fuck off. Fuck off.
So
They're the moderate rebels.
Are the Baptists, are they like, are you starting out that party attached to?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, in terms of actual political influence, like true old-style Baathism isn't really all that influential in the modern Arab world, is it?
Yeah. No,
Like,
no.
It's just been kind of snuffed out by the West and the Soviets. Cold War stuff.
Okay. What happened is that.
Bless up, Master. You a real one.
What happened in fact, I believe what happened was it started in Syria. There was a coup by the military branch over the civilian branch of the Ba'ath Party in Syria, which led the civilian branch, which had the founder of the Ba'ath Party, flee to Iraq. And then in Iraq, it was taken over by Saddam. And then in Syria, it was taken over by Hafez al-Assad. So now you have two branches of neo-Baathism. One is Assadism.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's not Assadism. It's neo-Baathism in Syria, and then there's Saddamism. Now, the Ba'ath Party in Iraq, after the American invasion in 2003 and it was banned, actually split. No, the former
And they
members.
just banned the Ba'ath Party outright.
Yes, they
Yeah.
banned them
So
from
much for
politics.
the tolerant left.
Shut the fuck up. Hey,
Am I wrong
Galliards.
though? Am I wrong?
Anyway. So many members of the Ba'ath Party in Iraq actually did join what would become ISIS. And the Ba'ath is still standing strong as the leading party of Syrian society in Syria. But at this point it has become more of a cult of personality around Bashar al-Assad than an actual.
Yeah, isn't it like in Syria they're not really like they're not really a socialist Ba'athist country. They're just
Oh
more
no!
like-
The last 5 years plan that they had planned before that they wanted to go with before the civil war was actually to just turn the country into a market economy.
What?
Yes.
Yeah,
Assad wanted to
That's
do
terrible.
liberal market reforms.
it's terrible.
That's terrible.
Legitimately like competent Ba'athism kind of died with Gaddafi, didn't it?
Gaddafi was not a Ba'ath. Actually, he was fighting the Ba'ath Party in Libya.
No, it was similar though, wasn't it?
I mean,
Or
listen.
at least in terms of governing style.
I mean, there were a lot.
Like
Okay, there were a lot of Arab nationalist currents in the Arab world, both to varying degrees. Some on the right wing, some on the left wing.
oh yeah, sorry, that's what I was trying to like. The Arab nationalism thing. That wasn't exactly what I was talking.
Yeah,
like, in
Gaddafi
terms of-
eventually had his own kind of deal going on after a while.
Yeah, he wasn't like a Ba'athist.
He was a
trooper or
Nasrist. At
anything.
first, he was a Nasrist. But,
But I would say the internal governance was similar to what they would aspire to.
well, when it comes to the Ba'ath, I believe what I read about them is that they wanted to have the party leading the society and usher in an Arab Renaissance through party headquarters, through the party, through party organizations. So, think the Soviet Union, but it's the Ba'ath Party, in a sense.
That is legitimately fascinating. It's interesting to see what like. It's interesting to think about what could have happened if they if there wasn't all that interference.
Yeah. Macno says, seems like Arab nationalism just kind of failed to form a unified movement from the get-go. I think Egypt tried to control too much and no one seemed willing to federalize and give enough autonomy. Okay, what happened between Syria and Egypt is actually very interesting because Egypt wanted to unite with Syria on the basis of Arab unity and Arab nationalism and reforming the already established political system. However, Syria wanted to unify with Egypt on the grounds that the Syrian elites were scared of the more socialist and communist currents that were growing in Syria after the victory of the Egyptian revolution. So if they get Egypt and to unite with Syria, they can snuff out the communists in Syria, and then the Syrian elites could turn on Abdel Nasser and just, yeah, thank you for killing the communists, now fuck off. And that's pretty much what happened, to an extent. Yeah, I'm sorry about whom. I'm sorry. Yeah, next time.
It's not personal.
I'm talking about a guy in the chat.
Yeah, I know. I was saying it's not personal. We're not talking.
We're not talking
We're
about the
not
Arab world.
leaving you out for a good.
Yeah.
We're not leaving you.
The Ba'ath Party look a lot like the Kuomintang tried to do. One party to lead the unification and modernization of the nation. Yeah, they had that kind
A
of deal.
specific part of the Kuomintang. though,
Yeah.
not the,
Not the Kuomintang was a fucking fuckfest after.
after he had Senzai, that whole thing
Yeah,
just kind
that-
of turned into
Yeah,
blatant military dictatorship.
it got weird pretty fast. Chiang Kai-shek turned it into like a fucking autocratic generalissimo with that one left Kuomintang guy who was in support of the Communist Party of China ended up becoming a Japanese collaborator and quickly became a fascist.
Okay. This is a topic of debate. I want to hear you guys' opinion on this.
Okay.
Alright.
Let's hear it.
Is Mao Zedong the greatest general of the 20th century?
Not necessarily.
Is he actually a general?
Yeah, he was the one who led the long march, marched all the way up north, and turned that disunited mess of a movement into something that was actually capable of governing a country, and ended up winning.
Yeah, watch out, bro.
I mean,
I'm genuinely asking, and I'm asking the people in the chat too, is there anyone we can think of with a more impressive resume than Mao Zedong
It'll be
in the
chat from
20th,
now, yo.
in the 20th century?
Apparently,
Oh yeah, Ho Chi Minh, that's a good point, yeah.
Ooh.
apparently Wang Jingwei didn't support the communists as part of the faction was anti-communist. Oh, holy shit,
Hmm.
Wikipedia lied to me. Go figure.
Yeah, Ho Chi Minh, that's definitely...
Ho Chi
I
Minh
mean,
is
he wasn't
upsetting.
really, like, towards the end, he wasn't really out there fighting the war on his own. Like, he was kind of getting old towards the end. It was a lot more... Oh, I forget his name.
I mean, he did win the first initial war against the French.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not trying to, like, slander Ho Chi
Yeah, yeah,
Minh
yeah.
or nothing. I'm a Ho Chi Minh truther, but, like...
Ho Chi Minh true.
Yeah, I like, towards the end of Vietnam, it was a lot more of the party than it was just him
Well, I
carrying the whole movement.
have one guy in mind, actually.
Hmm?
Vietnam beat Japan, France, America, local reactionaries, and China. MashaAllah. Glory to Vietnam. Well, one guy comes to mind in the Arab scene. The man who graduated from the Egyptian officer school and the Syrian officer school and the Palestinian School of War. Ahmad Jibril, the founder of the Palestinian Liberation Front, later one of the co-founders of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, before it broke off into the PFLP and the PFLP General Command. He was the commander of the PFLP GC, and he was renowned for being a master tactician and a master negotiator. This man traded 3 IDF soldiers for over 1,000 political POWs in Israeli prisons.
Yeah, that's definitely impressive. It's on a smaller scale, but it is impressive.
I mean, hey, we work with the scales that we got. He was also a master tactician in guerrilla warfare.
I was saying, like, I wasn't trying to say that as like a diss.
Yeah, no, I understand. He was great also at military technology. You know, he was more.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of the Night of the Gliders?
No.
Basically, Palestinian resistance fighters flew with gliders in the middle of the night and attacked I believe the Golani Brigade, the elite of the IDF, the creme de la creme, in their military base dead at night. Yeah.
That's fucking base as hell.
It was the PFLP GC.
Did they win the attack?
Yeah, did they win?
I mean, hey, listen, it was a suicide attack from the start. It was 2 members who flew. It was 2 members who flew in. One of them crash landed and had to fight off the IDF on his own until he died, and the other one managed to complete the mission by throwing bombs and shooting at the base until he was taken out. And I mean, both of them knew they weren't coming back. I believe one of the two men that went and did the operation were supposed to have more oil, more petrol, to come back with the gliders back to the base, back to the launching point where they flew off of. But that guy said, no, I don't want extra petrol. I want extra bombs, extra grenades.
Base.
Like he was coming back.
I think, in hindsight, I think best general of the 20th century, I think you gotta give it to Zhukov. But, Mao's up there. As is, Jabril. Jabril, that's impressive.
I mean, when you look at guerrilla fighting, there's a lot of impressive generals that you can fight. I mean, to an extent, Che Guevara could be considered as a general, in that sense. Mao, however, did a good job as a figurehead. Okay, so Mao didn't do a lot of generaling during the second stage of the Chinese Civil War, and most of his commanding was done with the other CCP officers. Mao, however, did a good job as a figurehead, a charismatic and inspiring leader with his troops.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like, especially after the Japanese got beat, he was definitely more focused on political positioning than he was actually managing the army. But, like, the fact that he was able to keep the CCP alive after the disaster in the South that is genuinely one of the most. That is like fucking Julius Caesar at Pharsalus type shit right there.
We don't fucking talk about Pol Pot.
Yeah, we all kind of mutually disown Pol Pot.
I mean,
Yeah,
holy shit, the guy,
That
okay.
guy wasn't even a fucking commie. He
Okay,
was
okay,
just
okay,
an
okay.
asshole.
So talking about Pol Pot,
Fucking crazy.
Pol Pot said himself that he was a Khmer nationalist. He was a Cambodian nationalist.
Yeah.
He said that communism at this stage is useful to build up Cambodia. However, at the next stage, we'll have to abandon it and go with something else. Holy, he was willing to go ANCAP if it means to support his fucking agenda. That doesn't
People
matter.
even call what he did communism. I would probably just
I mean,
call
wasn't he
it
supported by
genocide.
Thatcher and the CIA?
What? He was supported by the CIA?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and
yeah, the
Thatcher.
CIA backed the Khmer Rouge.
It's weird.
Wait, are we talking about Pol Pot or what? What are we talking about?
I mean, listen, but the Vietnam did win the war. They did manage to support actual Cambodian socialists, and established a government in Cambodia. And then the Khmer Rouge went into insurgency mode, which was supplied by the CIA and the MI6, as far as I believe. I could be wrong though.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
the Khmer Rouge were in insurgency mode for a long time. So
Yeah.
Let's go.
she wanted to bring him to Britain. Thatcher wanted to bring Pol Pot to Britain to live in exile. Pol Pot got
That's
CIA
hilarious.
support against Vietnam, but they also worked against him at other points. I mean, listen. The CIA has no friend. The United States has no friend.
Pure
So-
mercenary.
South Vietnam, the Afghan National Army, the Taliban, the Mujahideen.
Fighters of the Mujahideen.
Yeah, fucking, I don't know.
Well, speaking of which, let's get your opinion on Afghanistan. What do you, it's been a while, but what do you think right now? You think
Back to
it's
America.
for the better?
Okay,
Do you
let's
think it could have been better? What do you think?
what was the question again?
Like, it's been a while and quote unquote stabilized. Do you think it's better right now? It could have been better? Do you think there should have been another outcome? What do you think right now? The current state
In
of
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Yep.
I do believe that the last time Afghanistan was stable was under the socialist regime over there. No,
That's just true.
what's
Man.
going on right now is
Maybe
worse.
rest
Okay.
in
It
peace.
might have stabilized. But on a general idea of who controls what, because the Taliban are no more in insurgency mode. They own the country. There's ISIS terrorist attacks, of course. However, what's going on is a very terrible in Afghanistan right now, because number one, there's actually a humanitarian crisis over there, and famine and hunger, which is not brought to the forefronts because the United States did freeze the central bank and the assets of the central bank of Afghanistan, and then the war in Ukraine took place, which really disrupted a lot of the grain supplies going around the world. One of them was going to Lebanon, which was seized by the Russian army. Thank you, Putin. Such a fucking
Let's
dick
go.
move. Anyway,
You like grain?
I mean, everybody needs bread.
Yeah,
Bread
I
is a
think
basic
everybody
need.
likes eating bread, actually.
I was making sure. Some people are like, carbs are really bad.
So,
Anyway,
oh my god, this is.
keto or something.
Oh my god, I know this is a joke, but it really irritates me. Anyway,
Please keep going. I want to hear your opinion. Do you think is there like another party that you support? That
we thought in Afghanistan that the Taliban to keep control, they will need to reform. Unfortunately, no.
Right.
They are banning girls from education, which is unacceptable. It is unacceptable.
I will say, I firmly believe that Afghanistan right now is better off than it was during the war.
I mean, listen. Of course, people don't want
Because
war.
it's a very low bar to clear, because the only bar that they're really clearing is that they're not actively being bombed.
Yeah.
Like, Afghanistan is still going to be I don't want to say it because it sounds insensitive, but to be blunt, it's still going to be a shithole for a long time.
I don't want,
But
I don't like the use of the word shithole, but go on.
it's still going to be a country in crisis for a long time. But it isn't actively being bombed anymore, and that was a step forward.
I mean, actually, no, you're wrong, because the United States did bomb supposedly ISIS positions in Afghanistan after the withdrawal, only killing Afghani children.
That is not surprising at all.
So
It's
yeah.
also surprising that the U.S. media did not report on that at all.
So Nestor Macron says Afghanistan and Iraq are both countries that the U.S. has just kind of gotten away with destroying for several decades. I find it funny that Russia does one, and I will not do that with Ukraine. That would make me, that would make me a terrible human being. That would make me standing against my own ideals. However, I do not agree with how the media has been reporting, and how there's a media bias towards Ukraine when opposed to Arab countries that had dealt with such situations before. And you can see the media bias, you can see racism, an undertone of racism, and even overt racism in this, the kind that the media reports, and how countries are treating the war that's going down in Ukraine right now, and how the Russian government is treating the situation, and how also the government in Ukraine is treating, or was treating, foreigners living in Ukraine who was trying to flee the conflict. How much humiliation they suffered trying to escape. How much, there was a viral clip of a Moroccan young man who took out a knife and forced his way into a bus to load in civilians from India and the Arab world and Africa, because they would not allow them because they were of dark skin. They weren't Ukrainians. And I
mean,
understand.
Yeah, that's just fucking despicable.
I mean, I understand that during a case of war, you want to help your people. However, everyone there is fucking people. Everyone is getting bombed. You
Yeah.
get them out all at the same time. You help everyone you can save.
Right.
So, SLR back from dinner. Looks like we're on the Pol Pot topic. Fuck Pol Pot, obviously. All my homies hate the Khmer Rouge. It is hard for the media to sell that in the war there is a terrible people in both sides. Pol Pot was a Khmer ultranationalist who wanted to bring back the Khmer feudal empire. That's why he was so anti-tech, anti-education, and neo-feudalist. He probably was
Yeah.
the closest we had to IRL. The closest we had to IRL were Gandhian system. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Counterpoint.
Yeah, go ahead.
Francis, Matthias, and Gema. Look him up. Horrific shit.
Francis.
Terrible, terrible country, Equatorial Guinea. Terrible things.
You said
Give me an example. Give me an example. My internet is a little bit funky right now.
Okay, so he had a massacre in the middle of what was once a football stadium. I think it was like 200 alleged political opponents.
Oh my god, I
shot
heard about that, yeah.
While
I heard about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Holy
yeah.
fucking shit.
Our mutual friend probably told you about it. It's horrifying.
Wasn't he the guy with like half a mustache or something? He
I
had a
think
funny.
so, but
think-
like I'm gonna like
Yeah.
oh, I'm trying to
wait, say something
like he had like yes, yeah, Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, the Equatorial Guinea
He
dictator.
shot like 200 political opponents while those were the days played on an intercom, and his murderers. Yeah, the fucking his soldiers had clown outfits on. Or
Oh
was
my
it
god,
Santa
no.
outfits?
Okay, this is fucking horrible. Those
Yeah,
were
he
the
literally
days.
killed a third of his country. It's in Game I firmly think he might be the worst leader in world history.
Oh my god.
Like
Those were the
it's
days.
horrific shit.
He was playing Those
Yeah.
Were the Days. Was it the English or the
while
French
he
version?
massacred political opponents.
Was it the English or the French version?
Motherfucker, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay. It doesn't really matter. That motherfucker was evil. I'm trying to just like give some comic relief in this situation because holy fucking shit.
Yeah,
and
no,
he made the soldiers wear clown.
awful.
He made
Yeah,
soldiers.
Santa outfits.
Holy shit! That brings a whole new meaning to Circus of Death. So most people don't want to know that the country that are sending supplies also commits terrorism and lets young people burn in the Odessa Trade Union HQ. Oh yeah, the 2014 Odessa Trade Union
His
HQ
full name was
is burning.
Francisco.
Holy shit. He was off.
Yeah, Francisco Mas, yes. You win on.
What do we have
Yeah.
against Fang nationalism? I have no idea what Fang nationalism is. Oh yeah.
Yeah, define Fang nationalism. But yeah, no, he was
Santa.
the only reason he ever
Santa,
got the only
Hitlerian
reason
monks.
he ever got cooed is because like all of his subordinates were convinced he had magic powers and that he was gonna kill them all if they didn't lynch him immediately.
Oh my god, that's fucking. Okay.
He literally called himself a Hitlerian Marxist.
Oh my
He
god.
is
What is that?
he is genuinely one of the
Fang nationalism is the idea
leaders in
of
history.
ideology of Equatorial Guinea. It's
Oh wait, no, hold on. I was thinking of and like he was gonna be purged. The soldiers refused to shoot them because they were convinced he had magical powers and that he would come back to kill them.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, we're on stream. We're on stream.
I
You have to say
stream,
anything.
you're on stream, cuz.
Yeah, we are in public.
Fucking hell.
hey guys.
Chat, WIC.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You're actually
Yeah, we are in public.
you're actually now on stream on my stream. Let's talk part
Yeah,
one.
Better's doing a little stream and me and Ali joined. So if you want to stay, you can.
Okay.
But
Yeah, it's going to go for the next 10 minutes and then I'm off.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like 3:30 a.m. for me.
Oh man. We were just talking about Francisco Messias and Gama.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus fuck.
And he
That
got
guy.
good because he ordered his family members to be killed.
Ice Cream's the one who put us onto him.
That guy was nuts.
He was, yeah.
I have a question.
Well, we had this really important
Was he
question.
supplied by Israel in any
Go
way,
ahead,
shape,
go
or form?
Probably.
I seriously.
We don't know, but probably.
No. He was on the left. Ostensibly, he was backed by, I think he was Soviet aligned rather than Chinese aligned.
Oh my god,
Hold on 1 second.
what the fuck, the USSR? The USSR backed Idi Amin.
Yeah, that's an L for the Soviet Union.
To be fair, everyone backed Idi Amin at some point.
I mean, hey,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I love how Idi Amin was trained by the IDF.
Also, hold on. SLR, how the fuck did you get your hands on a in-game speech?
Was listening to one of
Is
his.
that available to the public?
But
Yeah, we are very interested to hear that.
where's the speech?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
What's
I'm
the-
fascinated now.
What
Is that a real thing? Did he actually give like a public speech that was like recorded? I want to hear the in-game speech. Let me look it up on YouTube. Hold on.
Now hear it at your own fucking time, not on my stream.
Hey, we can stream it.
No. I don't want in-game ghosts to come back to hunt me from the dead.
Yeah, look it up. I want to hear what the speech is.
He blackmailed the Soviets so they could send support to Angola.
Yeah, please do. I'm looking it up right now, but it's mostly just like videos about
Nguema discurso. Huh. I had when I started the stream, I was talking about, the New Year and Christmas and a yellow dressed Santa Claus. And now we're talking about a guy who fucking massacred a third of his fucking country and had Santa Claus's
Santa
suit.
outfits. It all returns.
right.
In
This guy
Santa
was
outfits.
fucking
How we
GTA
have come full circle.
Yeah, he was. Calling him a Far Cry villain is disrespect to Far Cry villains.
Nah, he's way worse than Far Cry.
Yeah, exactly.
Even boss name sucks.
Like, you know,
Yeah, please link us that speech. I really want to see that.
fucking pagan man has got nothing on Francis and Sears and Wim. Yeah, they should have based it on that. I mean, Equatorial Guinea is a small country.
Yeah, it is. It's a very small country.
All I'm saying,
Did he invade another country?
all I'm saying
try
is
to
that
invade.
Equatorial Guinea, right?
Yeah.
If we look at it as a map, it's a relatively square country,
Yeah.
right? And that's ideal for a video game map.
That's a good ass point.
Like, it's
Is Far Cry 6 going to take place in Equatorial Guinea?
Far Cry 6 is already out.
isn't that one the one based on Cuba?
Is that the Gus one?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
the
the
Gus
one
one.
with Gus.
Yeah, nobody's ever going to call him, like, whatever his character. It's just Gus.
Okay, so wait.
That's-
What about the
that's
guy who ate people? Do you mean Bukassa,
So
the
it's got,
emperor of Central Africa?
Oh, Bokassa was nuts.
Franco liked him
Right,
so much.
Equatorial Guinea, it's got like an island at the top there.
Yeah, that's the
and then-
tutorial area.
Well, maybe that could be the final boss area.
Oh, good idea.
You know,
Oh, dang.
because then you've got a more linear island at the top there, where he retreats, which is also where the capital is. So you start off in the capital, you know, with the opening scene, then you get kicked out of that, and he leaves you for dead somewhere in
Isn't that just Far Cry 2?
Far
Isn't
Cry
that just
2.
Far Cry 2? The one in
Yeah.
Africa? Or is that Far Cry 1? I don't...
Far Cry 2 is Africa, yeah.
You're just explaining Far Cry 2.
Yes, we're making a new Far Cry game in Equatorial Guinea.
Yo, everybody.
Far Cry 2 is the best Far Cry.
Who is General Butt Naked? It sounds like a username.
Oh, that's the guy
He was
who's
a
like
Liberian warlord.
Oh, we.
And his name was General Butt Naked?
General Butt Naked is probably the worst because he would sacrifice children to his gods. He was legit the world's most evil wizard for a while, then he converted to Christianity when his side lost. He's a priest
We're
now.
all good now.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright, so.
Redemption Arc?
Okay, no, not a redemption, not a redemption arc, not a fucking redemption arc. There's a lot of weird priests in
Redemption
Africa. I can
arc.
tell you
He's a
that.
priest now.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
wholesome.
I mean, cannibal accusations were
No,
made.
is he Catholic though? Is he Catholic
Italian
though?
powers to excuse
Because
themselves
if he's Catholic, it's not a redemption
for
arc.
not giving independence to African people. Alright.
Yeah, I know, but I'm allowed to shit on my own church.
So,
That just, it means I get the pass.
okay, so basically, Franco liked our genocidal maniac so much that he gave independence to Equatorial Guinea because he knew he would get power and guide it correctly. Holy shit. Okay, so pretty much a lot of African dictators were accused of cannibalism. Idi Amin was said to have decapitated the heads of his opponents and put them in the fridge and give them lectures about why they sucked and why now they're dead and their heads is in the fridge, which feels like bullshit to me. That kind of accusations never came around when he first rose to power because he was Western aligned, and then when he became more anti-Western, those accusations. Yeah, it is most likely bullshit. I heard Bukassa used to munch on the ears of his opposition, and his constitution was basically 2 articles. Article number 1, Bukassa is never wrong. Article number 2, if Bukassa is ever wrong, refer to article number 1.
What is it?
Bukassa is never wrong.
True.
Okay, but what's everybody's opinion on, Adolf Hitler in Namibia? In Namibia, my fault. Namibia.
The Namibian politician?
Yeah. Adolf Hitler who won in the last year.
It's a funny coincidence. It's like that.
What? What's so funny about
Dude, he's an anti-apartheid activist?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It's
He's
it's really
doing great
interesting
stuff.
how he was named. Like it's like that Brazilian politician called Hitler Mussolini. It's like people who name their children after famous people without realizing who they're naming them after.
Yeah.
It's like someone calling his kid Guevara. I know I've heard of a drug lord around this area, well, this region of the world where I live in, that named his son Guevara. Like holy fucking shit, Guevara, you're a fucking
give
drug
up.
lord.
Let's give up.
Hitler Mussolini
Apparently
was
he's part of a Marxist party, so...
Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? You guys support Adolf Hitler?
let's not let's not talk about
Yeah.
that because the YouTube algorithm is terrible to me,
Yeah, we're
very
gonna get
terrible
his
to me.
channel demonetized. Let's not.
Actually, my channel is already demonetized. I have no way of getting it monetized, nor do I care about
Oh.
monetization. I just don't want the stream to be
Don't
taken
support
out.
Hitler, y'all.
I'm going
I've
to
been,
that on his Patreon.
I
Never
don't
do a
even have a
Patreon?
Patreon because I have no way in getting money from Patreon. I have to have PayPal, and PayPal doesn't work in my country, or I have to sign up to an American-based bank, and I'm not giving them my personal information. Fuck that.
Yeah, I get that.
Besides, I don't want the stream to be taken down. I've been fucking talking for the last 3 hours.
Send money by a carrier pigeon to his house.
Yeah, drop your address right now. We'll send you money.
Yeah. Shut up, Ollie.
Uh,
Mm.
Great.
so we talked about a lot of things today,
Yeah.
or rather
This
tonight.
was enjoyable. I
Yeah.
can't really testify to the 2 hours before, but like when I started watching, I was having fun.
Yeah, that's really fun, you know. And I really hope a lot of people who are actually go to work and want to have fun while working, because I know people usually when they're at shitty corporate jobs, like ice cream over here. Sometimes I believe you're a shitty corporate job. Yeah. They like to listen to podcasts or streams
Yeah.
while working. So yeah, hopefully they find that enjoyable. And if you're a worker, you know, listening to this while hard at work, lumped over your desk, working
You
tirelessly,
a big workers' right kind of guy, Battle Boy?
keep your chin up, my friend. Keep your chin up. You're doing great.
Are you just telling Conrad?
Are you more of a... Well, answer the question.
Yeah, I do support workers' rights, trade unions, and the whole 9 yards.
Okay. So where do you think you align right now? Like in the Lebanese...
Can we get a solidarity in chat?
Yeah. W solidarity. So where do you align in the Lebanese political sphere?
I'm on the left.
You know?
I'm on the left.
That's
Okay. Okay, so are you with like the Progressive Socialist Party? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, the Progressive Socialist Party is neither progressive nor socialist.
What?
Shocker.
It's more
So,
it's a
which
sector
party do you
it's
support the
became
most?
became more of a sectarian political party.
Mm.
Yeah, for
And so are
to
you with,
keep.
like the future movement? Like what are you with?
I'm not affiliated with any political movement
Oh.
or party or
Okay.
non-governmental organization or anything.
What's the closest? What's the closest?
But our boy political compass. No, I hate that test. I hate political tests. They're always
Yeah,
so
the
Western
political
oriented.
compass test is pretty shit.
Yeah, they're always so American oriented.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it's okay. I'll put you down on the ballot for Hezbollah. I got you, bro.
Wait, whoa.
They're gonna take it. Don't worry. I got you.
Well, I'm not
Whatever your
affiliated.
heads
I'm
are.
not. I am an independent. I'm not affiliated with any party
Yeah,
or
yeah.
political organization.
we all know.
So you're not anti-Zionist, anti-Western? Is that
Oh
what
my
you're saying?
God.
You're
Okay,
pro-Western, pro-Zionism? Is that what you're saying?
You guys are
Sweet
going to
for that one.
either get me.
Because that's what they're
Okay.
against.
So you guys are going to either get me arrested.
Beto, we're trying to get you funding by saying that you're pro-Zionist.
Dude, shut up.
You say you want money, right?
Guys.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about money, guys. You're gonna either get me arrested
Fine.
or
We're trying to help you
get
grow
me
your
get me
channel.
on some fucking blacklist. And I do want to visit. I do want to visit
I don't know
Europe
why you gotta
sometime.
make this black.
Bad art. Bad art boy. You're only only going to end up on a CIA black site if you say you oppose Israel.
Exactly. We're trying to help you out.
Yeah, we're just trying to get you your bag.
It's 3:35 a.m. Please go easy on my noggin.
How much?
Alright,
How
alright.
much money for you to support this? This is just like a question.
Not
I don't think there's a monetary amount.
I mean, think about it. $1 million. $1 million.
I'll tell you to shove them where the
For
sun
life.
doesn't fucking shine. I'll tell you to shove them where the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah, yeah.
$1 million. Okay, what are the $1 billion?
Alright, hold on.
We're holding.
My price
Okay.
for taking Israeli money is $481.6 billion.
Really?
What's that?
That is the GDP of Israel.
Nice. Is it that per year?
So I would take that. I would take that.
And donate it to the PLO.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
a
won't.
great plan.
I won't take shit out of principle. Oh my
No,
god!
that's
Oh my
fair.
god! Oh my god! Oh my god! One time on the Kremlin Games server, I came in contact with someone I didn't know. Apparently, as a Arab Israeli or whatever, he called me a cracker. I shit you not. I once I knew his nationality, I withdrew myself from the conversation. But like, dude, seriously, I'm fucking
You
brown
are.
as shit.
You're a white guy. I've seen it.
Oh, shut up! I'm not
What's your
white.
opinion on the
And
S&P?
when you
You're a
saw
cracker. I'm exposing you.
Wait, better boy. Hear me out. What's your opinion on the SSMP?
it's a progressive party. They share a lot of similarities with the Communist Party, yet both of them are not.
SSNP?
Yes, that's the Syrian
Yeah.
Social Nationalist Party. It's not. It's not. It's not what it sounds like. It's not a Nazi party. Actually, it's very much opposed to Nazism. It discredited eugenics, and shat on Hitler. And Hitler had its founder Anton Saadi on his assassination list. Had Nazi assassins tried to kill him on some occasions. The SSMP also, one of the sympathizers of the SSMP killed the would-be fascist president of Lebanon and Israeli number one man for Israel in Lebanon during its occupation, Bashir Gemayel. The party has always been calling for women's rights, workers' rights, people's self-determination, fight against colonialism everywhere and anywhere, and unity of the people. Um, so the SSMP, generally speaking, it's not a half bad party.
Yeah. So you align with them a little bit?
I do empathize with them. I actually met a lot of people who sympathize with the SNP and uphold their values. And for a while, I thought about it, and I do believe some of their values are good. And actually, if you look at the channel description, I say I am both an Arab nationalist and a Syrian nationalist in the context of the SSMP. I do believe unity of the people, no matter how would it look, with it Syrian unity or Arab unity or fuck it, third world unity, world unity. Unity of the people is important in all forms. It's not a ninja star. It's the whirlwind. It's one of the most ancient symbols in Syrian mythology, and also some say it's the mix of the cross and the crescent, symbolize Muslim Christian unity regardless of faith, as well as each point of that whirlwind represents something, one of the core values of the party, which I do not actually have right now because I'm not here to discuss the party ever, or else I would have had the definition of the name as well as
Sorry
the
to cut you off,
symbolism.
but I'm curious. Does Lebanon have a what's the word I'm looking for? Does Lebanon have a Ba'athist party?
Yes, we have the Ba'ath Party in
Would you
Lebanon.
vote for them? And
No,
would you vote for them?
not particularly. You know, I wouldn't vote
are
to
they
them.
U.S. backs?
What?
Are they U.S. backs?
Oh, fuck off. No, they're Syrian backed. They're linked to the Syrian Ba'ath Party.
Oh, they're Assad.
No.
So I wouldn't really vote for them particularly. I don't have any grievances with them per se, but there's other parties which I align more, which I'm more aligned towards. But not member of any political party. I'm independent, and I still can, practice politics in my country, can vote, can practice my political rights. But that's all right.
But who would you vote for?
I've already answered that question before. Maybe the people's movement
Did you
of
get out and
Najah
vote?
Hakim.
Wait, who was it again? Did you say it again?
The people's movement founded by Najah Hakim.
Oh.
Okay, Badar, very important question, Badar.
Final question.
Is
Make
this
it
the most
count.
important election of our lifetimes?
In the United States.
Is this the most important election of our lifetimes?
Oh.
The upcoming 2024 elections.
Yes.
Well,
I think it is.
I think it's the most important election of our
Uh,
lifetime.
just
yeah.
before I answer, I want to say that the MI6 also considers Saddam Hussein to be a person of interest that they can work with, even long before he came to power. Just keep that in mind. But
Noted.
as I said, America doesn't have a friend. So, dear SLR, they will prop up a government only to them, abandon them, so on and so forth.
Badar.
Is this the most important election in our lifetime? Possibly so far, yes.
Vote blue?
What?
Do we have to get out and vote
Yeah,
blue
would
to
you
stay in
vote
America?
blue? Who would you vote for?
I will not say anything, because if I say anything, then the Republican Party will come and say, "Oh, look, this dirt skin Arab terrorist is supporting the Democrats." Fuck that shit.
Wait,
But
so you support the conservatives?
no. Okay, so let me answer this seriously right now. As I said, I wanted to come to have viewers talk
Or are you
here
Green
seriously.
Party? Are you part of the Green Party?
Oh my god.
I'm part of the Green Party.
Oh my
so
god.
Don't try that.
You actually?
Yeah. I'm the only voter in North Carolina that votes Green Party. Nice. Yeah, I'm registered for the Green Party.
Anyway.
I vote in all their elections.
I think I'm actually still a registered Republican because my dad took me out to get my driver's license like 4 years ago, and he was like looking at me the whole time, and they asked me if I wanted to register with a party, and so I just kind of said Republican so he'd stop looking at me weird. Yeah, I think I'm still a registered Republican.
That's weird.
So,
That you just register as a political party like that.
Hey, let's go. SLR 44C. We got a Green Party in the
Green
chat.
Party is one I could get
Don't you
behind.
just have to actively become a party member or something?
no, I don't know if I'm a party member, but I'm registered with the Republican.
Yeah, that's a weird concept. I don't fully understand that.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't actually know if I'm
That
still
just sounds
registered.
like it's like pretty dodgy, honestly. Is because shouldn't who you vote for be down to you, secret ballots and all?
Mate, are you telling me that the U.S. government would do something dodgy related to elections?
Yes.
That,
I don't believe that. I don't think it's possible. Oh, you're from Mexico? That's
Alright,
what's the
so
Green Party in Mexico like?
yeah. What's the Mexican Green Party like?
Well, I'm glad that we have Green Party enthusiasts in the chat. See, Badar? You can't be hating on the Green Party like that.
I'm not hating on the Green Party. I'm
The
trying to
Green
answer a
Wave
question.
is coming.
The Green
Jill
Swedes.
Stein or
Green
what
Swedes.
the fuck it is.
How are we doing forward? I'm telling you.
Who is it? Jill Stein is still in charge?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, wait. It's like the Green Party in Germany supporting fracking, but I mean,
Oh,
right
Green Party in
now,
Germany is hilarious.
they kinda need the
Yeah.
energy sources.
I love the German Green Party because it's literally just everyone.
German Green Party is just the most right-wing shit.
Yeah.
It's just they're just like right-wing pro-fracking.
Shout out German Green Party.
What? That's not even green. What?
Yeah, it's like the market liberals basically. Yeah, the German coalition is made out of a bunch of market liberals who are just openly neoliberal, and then the SPD, the Social Democrats, who are pretty much neoliberal but pretend to be left-wing. They gave all their important economic posts to the liberals, and the Greens, who are just liberals but pretend to be green.
So it's basically pretend politics over in Germany.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got loads of different parties in Germany, but they are all freaking. Apart from like the AFD, which is like right wing, and the
And
Linke,
proud,
which is
right wing and proud.
which is yeah, the AFD, which is racist, Linke, which is just East German nostalgia.
You know,
Any East German nostalgia enjoyers in the chat?
nostalgia.
W East Germany.
Nostalgia.
Yeah,
Any nostalgias in the chat?
Me.
and it's
Literally
just a
me.
shop
Yeah.
within grasshopper party. It sucks up to any party on coalitions each elections.
Gotta love my fucking boy Honecker.
Okay. So basically, so just to comment on the Green Party, Green parties that are actual Green parties that actually, seek
Green
to.
parties that are actual green parties are just green parties that aren't in power.
Yeah, so does Lebanon have a Green Party?
That's deep, kinda. But I can get behind the idea of protecting nature, and socialists should very much protect nature.
Yeah.
Because if not, in 50 years we'll be fucking drowning or burning or some shit.
But if your green party is only green, and then it won't get anywhere. In order for it to be a true green party, it needs to be red.
Exactly. So yeah, incorporate the green into the red.
Yeah, because you know the most green party in the world is?
What?
No, the Workers' Party of Korea.
Dang.
Probably, actually, no, it may be the Communist Party of Cuba, but like one of the two.
Lovely.
That's powerful.
Die Link is the best German political party. Well, I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
Yeah,
It's so fucked
let's
up.
be real. Die Party is the best German political party.
Die Partei, das ist immer
Let's be real.
No, I like the Partei because they've adopted the East German Party's anthem, and their policy is to build the wall back but bigger.
Dang.
Build them against who? Build it
They're
Oh,
against
it's a
who?
satirical party. Okay.
Yeah, they're a mean party.
Ah, I see. Alright, so about the American election. So this is the last thing we're going to be talking about, because I need to wrap up and finish the stream because I'm exhausted and I feel my throat is very tired.
Really?
It's fucking
You're hard at work.
3:50 a.m.
I'm sure,
Spare.
yeah, you've been hard at work.
Alright, answer your question though.
So the question was about the American elections, the upcoming American elections. Should the
Most
Republicans?
important election.
What? The most important. Anyway.
Are you gonna boot blue?
Vote blue no matter who, right? Tyler?
Hold on a second.
You just pass out on the computer. Oh.
Hold on a second. I'm just trying to count from 1 to 10 because I said a billion fucking times. This is why I'm very reluctant to get you. This is why I was reluctant to get viewer call-ins, especially with you two.
No, we need to do this again. Yeah, this is legit fun.
The chat
I'm
is
curious for the chat's opinion though. Did you guys prefer it when it was just Bad Our Boy, or do you enjoy it with more people in it?
I mean, listen. I have no problem getting more people in it, but you sometimes go overboard.
Yeah,
Fellas.
for sure.
We are as
Tame as it gets, I'll say that.
Is there anyone watching?
I think Ice Cream did kind of go
There's
overboard. I'm not
there's some
gonna lie.
viewers. It's not completely empty in here.
I will not say that the American Civil War is the best case for global peace and stability. That's because I have a fucking problem with the American Civil War idea. Who the fuck will have the nukes? Okay?
Me?
Yeah, who the fuck will have it? The fucking Green Party. Great.
Yes, and we're gonna save the world by destroying all nukes.
Anyway. I listen. If I'm going to be talking about the American elections, the most important election, I don't think I should talk about it right now.
Alright.
I should talk about it sometime later, on another stream maybe. Next month probably. But not now, because I'm not well rested, I'm tired, and this needs some good elaboration.
You should go to bed, mate. You should go to bed.
I should definitely do that. Wait, hold on.
It's all right. 3 of us will cover the stream for you.
Yeah. Just keep it on, and we'll finish it.
If I keep it on, I'll be fucking, and I'll be in the fucking Hague the next day.
No way. We're tame, right, guys?
Yeah. Well, ice cream kind of goes overboard, but we'll
Yeah,
hold it back.
we'll keep it PG-13.
Yeah,
We
you can
have
kinda go
Mr.
crazy
Grey
when you
Par-
do
we
it.
have Mr. Green
Okay.
Party, and then we have you,
That's
Dean, who are, you know, I'm fucking scared of you, terrified of you sometimes.
Get better, boy. I know you want to.
Stop
Oh,
making
no,
those damn fucking
Say
jokes.
the
Say
nuclear
it.
word. Say the
Do it.
nuclear word. Come on. The N word.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, no, please.
Yeah, no, that's not the word I was thinking of.
No, I'm talking the nuclear word, not the.
Yeah.
No racism. Okay. Can
No,
you put
no,
that
no,
in the
this is,
description? No racism in the chat.
Oh, by the way,
I
the
think we
chat
should have a
answered your
trigger
question.
warning for homophobia.
Yeah.
The-
Homophobia.
Yeah, homophobia trigger warning, guys. All right,
Wait,
say it.
Homophobia
Say
trigger
it.
warning.
Wait, what? Homophobia, what? Trigger warning? Okay.
Say the line better, boy.
What line?
Yo, we need to make a batter boy expose you. We're gonna expose you, batter boy. It's gonna be over for you. We're canceled.
Oh, it appears that we have lost communication with our lovely guests. Who would have thought that would have happened? Ah, unfortunate. And as Galliot had put it, no, Ali and Dean are more of a comic relief, but the more comic relief they get, the more terrible it gets. I'm not going to call you that, okay? I'm not going to call you that. I'm not going to say some stupid shit that we shit post about like idiots in a private server on a fucking public stream because it does not represent me or my views. And it's not that much of a terrible word either, but it's just not a word I want to say. Okay? Like, holy fucking shit. Okay. I do not fear you. I've seen how you look like. I can fucking punch you. It probably, my fist would probably bounce off and hit me in the face, but you're not much of a threat. Dean, you're not much of a threat. As much as I love you, my friend, you can get very much annoying. Get on my nerves. All of that talk about exposing me. Listen. It's fun when we are just making stupid jokes between each other in a server between friends. But let's not drag inside jokes to a stream where there's a lot of people that can be watching, a lot of people will be watching, and some people might just get into the channel through that. And boycotting the election might be a good idea, a principled position, SLR 44. And with that, this brings us to the end of the first episode of Let's Talk Part 1. Now, it largely went well. All things considered, may Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States. Good night. Yeah, good night, Dean. Good night, Dean. Lovely joking you have. And I think my throat will not be okay tomorrow morning. Or well, morning is like 3 hours from now. Ouch, my hand. Well, this has largely went well. We've been talking for like 3.5 minutes. Well, I did not expect this to go that long. I was just thinking 2 hours tops and that would be it. Let's talk 3 and 30 minutes with you wonderful folks. And hopefully next time we have such a stream
we'd figure things out more, we'd have more topics to talk about, more general themes to discuss through. But this, as a beginning, was very much satisfying, was very much up to standards. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'd like to thank everybody who will be listening to this later. It was wonderful having you. Wonderful discussing things with you. And again, Happy New Year. Hopefully 2023 will bring in a lot of good things in life for everybody. And with that, I bid you farewell and wish you all a good night. See you all next time, which I don't know when would be next time, but see you all then.